Прийшли окупанти до нас в Україну, форма новенька, воєнні машини, та трохи поплавився їх інвентар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російські танкісти сховались в кущі, щоб лаптем посьорбати довбані щі, та трохи у чах перегрівся навар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Приперли зі сходу до нас барани для восстановлення
великої страни.
Найкращий пастух баранячих отар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Ті, хто води всяке озброєння різне, потужні ракети, машини залізні, у нас на всі доводи є коментар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Вони захопити хотіли нас зразу, а ми зачаїли на орків образу з російських бандитів. Робить примар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російська поліція справи заводить, там вбивцю рашистів ніяк не знаходить. Хто винен, що в нашому полі глухар? Байрактар, Байрактар. Веде пропаганду кремлівський урод, слова пропаганди ковтає народ. Тепер нове слово знає цар.
Байрактар.
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 Yes.
The Leaf Spring Army sends its regards.
Русский военный корабль. Предлагаю сложить оружие и сдаться. Русский военный корабль, иди нахуй.
Наші
Hello, everyone. I'm the Enforcer, and I'm accompanied by Enforcer Matt.
And good evening, folks. It's Enforcer Matt, and welcome back to day 806 of the news. And it's good to see you all once again. And we're seeing Russia on fire. The refineries are burning once again. The Victory Day parade's a failure, and a dissent is spreading amongst the regime of Putin. And it's good to see you all once again.
And of course, we're going to be covering the past 24 hours of the news of the war in Ukraine, because we've gotten some incredible news today. We got to hear that the Victory Day parade, a lot like we said on this channel last night, was going to flop. Well, it flopped. We will be going into that here in a moment, but we also have some other big news. We got to hear that almost every refinery within Western Russia got stricken today by Ukrainian drones. We also got to hear that a Russian company that drills for oil is apparently going under because of the massive economic strain at the moment, and they are begging Father Putin to bail them out so that way the company doesn't collapse here in like the next month or two. Not only that, we've been hearing that from the West, support will continue to flow into Ukraine. And not only that, we have seen the highest losses this year in a single day happen against the Russian army on the front lines. And while they have made a marginal amount of progress in the Bakhmut area trying to move on to the second defensive line, that was at the cost of some of the highest losses we've seen this year. It was an absolutely insane day. You know what? Scratch that. It was ludicrous. We don't even know where to begin with today. And not only that, it ended up wrapping up symbolically in Moscow on how this day went. We're going to be going into all of this immediately, without further delay, because the amount of news that we have tonight, by the way, folks, is unbelievable. We actually had to cut down a good amount of it, but I believe we have like 35 individual segments of news that we have to cover tonight. And also, we got a little bit of news from inside the Middle East, which we will be going down and covering at the very end of the stream, right after we get done with most of the Russian-Ukraine war news. So moving us on into Moscow, to start us off with something that everyone knows happened. The Victory Day parade has wrapped up. It happened at, like, I believe 2 or 3 in the morning here, local time, which would be 4 p.m. Eastern time or so. It ended, and it was a complete flop. Many of y'all knew that that was going to happen. We kind of all knew that, and we did say that a little bit last night before we even wrapped up. We hadn't even seen the Victory Day parade, but we knew it was going to be a flop. It turned out to be one. There was absolutely no armored vehicles present, just like they were in the rehearsal. We got to see one T-34-85, and that was it. We also saw, and let me see if I can get y'all a little glimpse of the Victory Parade right here. So this was the armored section of the Victory Parade. Of course, as usual, the infantry columns are fairly normal in size compared to years prior, but the armor segment is the one that you really want to look at, and here it is. Also, did I forget to mention, of all days, it snowed on May 9th. Like, it was actually snowing in the middle of the parade, which is incredibly rare because this is the beginning of summer, even inside of Russia, but it was snowing today, like, legitimately snowing. But we can see the T-34-85.
По традиции, открывает прохождение техники легендарный танк Великой Отечественной войны Т-34 под боевым знаменем Первой Гвардейской Красноармейской.
Pride of Russia in one tank right there. Look at that.
Man, this thing right here is what Shoigu takes troubles. And it looks like we've reconnected. And I think we've reconnected. And I think we're back. I'm so sorry about that, everyone. I do want to give a little bit of a heads up. We are currently going through one of the worst storms I've ever seen. It's like The Perfect Storm, the movie, outside of our house right now, and it is probably going to mess with the internet a little bit. But if y'all will hang tight with us, we will continue to make sure to deliver the news with intermittent lag breaks here and there in the stream. But I also want to point this out. I don't know if the lag got this or not. Usually the Russians do insert fairly okay looking people into the camera roll of the Victory Day parade, but I noticed something here at the end and I was like, what the hell is that? Okay, so watch this. So they focus on this particular woman, have no idea why, but notice that at the end she bites her lower lip. Like, I was watching this video earlier and I saw that and I was like, why? I was like, why in the world did they show that? Like, look, watch, Matthew, watch. Right there, bites the lower lip. Like, what's up with that? Like, why in the world did they include that in the film?
I'm not even really sure. Like, is that somebody's wife or something?
I have no idea. I don't even know who the hell that was, but they just included that. I don't know why. It was weird. Anyways, you see the T-34-85 rolling on along.
На Красной площади колонна универсальных бронированных автомобилей.
We see the BTR-80 leading the armored cars, which was really the only thing armored in the entire segment right here.
ВПК «Урал» с дополнительной защитой 16-й гвардейской бригады специального назначения.
And that's the end of the clip. But for the most part, that's really all you'll need to see of the Victory Day Parade. We kind of covered it in the rehearsal, because what happened after this is that the armored cars rolled through, then they had an S-300 battery rolling through behind them, and then after that, they had a T'Pol-M intercontinental ballistic missile launcher roll through, and that was the entire armor segment of the parade. It took about 4 minutes, and that's what it was. I mean, it wasn't really a lot, but one thing that we did get that was really interesting out of the parade, and it's really starting to show how dangerous the Ukrainians have become to the Russians at this point, is that they have ended up having to put escorts with drone guns, anti-drone guns, near to the parade formations while they were waiting, because they did not know if the Ukrainians were going to attempt some kind of an attack on the columns before the parade even began. So there were anti-drone gunners along the entire length of this incredibly small armored column that was in the parade. We also understand there was a heavy amount of anti-drone defense around the entirety of the parade, not just the vehicles, but also the Red Square itself, and it's giving us the idea that the Russians have started to enter a state of pandemonium about possible Ukraine drone attacks, because they are attacking so far, so deep, and so effectively in Russia that really anything could be a target, and almost everything could end up getting knocked out or destroyed by, hell, just a normal drone of any kind. Much like last year, right before the parade, a drone ended up blowing the Russian flag off of its flagpole on the Kremlin just days before the parade, and it appears that has stuck in the Russians' minds that could always happen at any point, anywhere, and they could even knock out these vehicles as well. So now they're giving them a little bit of anti-drone protection, which is really interesting to see. But to top it all off, the parade, it went swimmingly. What can I say? The Russians made the world tremble in fear of their armored cars and their World War II antique. It was so impressive, they of course had to do their typical firework and concert show right afterwards. And this is something that was one for the books. We're going to show that to y'all right here, but before we do, I want to talk really quickly about the Russian armored segment like we just saw in the video, the lip-biting video, if we want to call it that, where we got to see the T-34-85, then followed by armored cars. No tanks or armored personnel carriers were present at all in this parade, and this armored column was even smaller than last year's, which also had absolutely no tanks present during that parade as well, except for the one T-34-85. This has led a lot of people to believe that the Russians may not have any tanks to spare, and a lot of these tanks are either in reserve positions near to the Ukrainian front line, or there are no tanks left. And the only reason they had the T-34-85 is because it's a museum piece that they only pull out for these parades. A lot of people are believing that the Russians just have nothing left to spare. Some people just say that the Russians made it a little light just for the hell of it. Some people said the Russia is only temporarily low and they'll bounce right back. But a lot of people have many different opinions on this topic, or this kind of a general idea of what in the world are the Russians really facing at this moment that has made this parade so bare bones compared to years prior. And so, Matthew, what were people saying about this?
So after seeing the footage here of the Victory Day Parade and seeing that Russia only had one tank to put on exhibit, and also they basically filled up the entire parade with simply support vehicles, the big question is Russia running out of equipment? And 78% said yes, Russia barely had any to spare for the parade, and 10% said no, Russia simply made it light, and 5% said Russia is only temporarily low. And in my opinion, I think all the equipment they have is deployed on the front lines in Ukraine. And right now, they're simply struggling to keep up with making new equipment to basically try to replace the equipment that's being destroyed inside of Ukraine right now. So they literally had nothing to spare. And I'm not sure where they got this tank from that we're looking at on the screen, but that tank probably needed to be on the front lines, but they had to make this sacrifice to make it look like they at least have something to spare. So I'm with the 78%. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say that the Russians are most likely running out of equipment. When we say that, though, there probably are hundreds of tanks even right now that are not actively on the Ukrainian front lines fighting in Ukraine, But that's not the matter. The matter is that those several hundred tanks may be needed at any point to roll forward onto the front lines in Ukraine and take over the positions of tanks that have been knocked out or abandoned on the front lines. And for that reason, the Moscow garrison has largely been stripped of all of its armor. They've been moved closer to Ukraine, or they're currently in Ukraine. And for that reason, we're not seeing that there's any armored column that was present in this parade, except for armored cars, which are most likely made of some of the cadet schools, possibly, or something along those lines. Because if you look at the parade and you look at the unit composition of the Moscow Victory Day parade every year, all of the units are comprised from the local area around Moscow. They're not pulled in from every region of Russia. Some units are, but that's an incredibly rare thing in the parade, especially for the armored segment. Usually they only bring in stuff that's in Moscow at the moment into the armored segment annually. And this year they certainly show that there is no tanks, once again, like in 2023, that are around Moscow for there to be a parade like that. So going off of that, it does show that the Moscow garrison has been depleted, and that may be leading us to believe that they're starting to run low on tanks, much like we were seeing last year as well, because they can't even spare around a few dozen tanks to be in the parade. At least that's what we're understanding at the moment, because the parade does show us a lot. Of course, the infantry segment is its own thing, and we can get a lot out of that as well. For example, the complete lack of cadre or anything like that were present in years prior are no longer there anymore in the Moscow Victory Day parade. But still, this is giving us a pretty good look into the lack of tanks that the Russians are starting to face, as they've stripped the Moscow Victory Day parade of the tanks, most likely so that way they can move those units towards Ukraine, so that way if they need to be used on the front line, they can be, or they're already on the front line right now and engaging the Ukrainian forces. Meanwhile, after this parade was over, and after everyone once again noticed that the Russians had almost no tanks in the parade, it was now time for the Russians' creme de la creme. Because after the parade, they have this entire shindig that happens in Red Square. They pretty much build a kind of a scaffold or a stage, and they end up having this huge celebration of the Great Patriotic War. And that, of course, comes with a massive fireworks show. And we got to see that apparently something went wrong at that fireworks show of this day of all days. I'm going to just show you all the clips, and here they are. Look at that. Oh, bled!
Oh. Yeah. Oh, man.
That's a good bled. But let's
that was a big one, too. That was one of those mortar shell fireworks. That was huge.
This is what they call the M777 155mm HE Red Square edition. And look at people running, dude. It's like freaking napalm out there. The Russians couldn't even do the fireworks display correctly. It ended up having a massive malfunction and ended up blowing up. So, not bad. Not bad. Let's watch this one again. Dude, it actually had a small shockwave for a moment. You can see it. Watch. Oh my god.
Look at that. It's like a thermobaric firework. Good god.
Dude, they said we were not able to have the TOS thermobaric flamethrower here at the parade today, so we decided in the fireworks demonstration to demonstrate what that would look like if it fired. Oh my god, dude.
This is what happens when you buy your fireworks off of Wish.
Dude, it looked like an open-air mine depot that blew up in Ukraine for that one brief moment.
I like the little cat over there filing his nails over there in the comment section. You're saying very sad. I like that.
Yeah, I like that. We gotta steal that. But anyways, moving on from that, as you can see, the Victory Day parade was very bad in reality, you know, the execution of it. And then even the after party after the parade was pretty bad as well. All around, it was just a terrible time for everyone that was there in Moscow during the Victory Day parade. But it was even worse for people who were not in Moscow today, because it turns out that while the Russians were celebrating their Victory Day in Moscow, which is approximately, about 286 miles from Ukraine, there was an interesting little thing that happened today. And let me make sure to just pull out a ruler to show you all the distance. It was about roughly 860 miles away, which is about that far away inside of Russia, in around the area of Ufa. What happened is that the Ukrainians flew a drone while the Victory Day parade was ongoing, while it was actually happening. A Ukrainian A-22 Aerosport drone was flying over Russia at that exact same time on its way to now make another record-breaking attack on Russian infrastructure. Before this, the attack on Naberezhny Chelny, which was 725 miles inside of Russia, was the record holder for the longest range attack that had been conducted by Ukrainian forces over the course of the war inside of Russia, but that was now outdone today by an extra 125 miles, as an attack has now happened inside of Ufa, knocking out a Russian oil refinery here, and once again showing the Russians that there is absolutely nothing they can do to stop Ukrainian deep strike attacks on Russian infrastructure. We were able to get video and picture evidence of this attack as it happened, and we were able to see one of the light sport aircraft circling around and getting ready to come in hot. Here's our first clip. We can see the oil refinery already stricken and on fire from the first drone. In our next clip, beyond this one, we then get to see the explosion once again. And also, what is that right there? What is that little thing moving through the sky? Is that another drone?
Oh dear.
My goodness. It's another Ukrainian drone. It's just flying around.
Is that one of those normal drones, or is that the light aircraft they converted into a drone?
That's one of those light sport aircraft drones, and we actually have a really good video of it right here. We see the hits already happened from one drone, and we can see the other one still flying around up there, right there. Now, let me
That's a whole airplane circling around this place.
Let me get y'all this video, because this is actually the one where the Russians like screaming on the ground and stuff. It's right overhead in this clip, so you can clearly see it's another A-22 light sport plane drone that has made it all the way in there. So let me show y'all this.
10 секунд над нами прям.
Oh crap.
Смотришь, не
Damn.
знаю.
A whole Cessna
Прям
coming down.
здоровый, блядь. Он заходит к нам.
Man, the Ukrainians are just menacing the Russians.
Че, я снимаю, тогда встал.
It's like the freaking movie Jaws, man. Everyone on the radio is like, it's a freaking Cessna, man. Get that. And he's like, he's right over to me. He could kill me in any minute now. It's just like, dang, man. It's like, that's crazy, because these people are terrified of a light sport plane that the Ukrainians literally just launched from inside of Ukraine and just flew it all the way to the Ural Mountains. And not a single Russian saw it while it was flying here. And then it finally gets here. One of them hits the target. The second one just starts flying around. And the Russians are in an absolute panic because nobody even knows how this thing got this deep into Russia. Just look at it go.
Заходит, что?
You know, I never thought like a slow-moving Cessna like that would be so intimidating looking, but that really does look very intimidating, seeing that thing just hovering over there like that.
Dude, you got the Wright brothers out here coming in at 30 miles an hour, causing the entire Russian government to freeze up and get terrified. But you know what's even crazier? Is that this thing is going so slow that if you just had small arms, enough of them, you could probably end up shooting this thing down. Because it's that slow, you don't even have to really lead the target. You just shoot at it, and the bullets will most likely hit. But there is literally no air defense in Russia. Not even small arms fire is heard in any of these clips. And it's showing that this drone either made it so far into Russia that the plant security don't even have AKs, or there is no air defense anymore at all. The Russians just made up a statement on that saying that they were going to increase air defense, but as a matter of fact, air defense only decreased as time went by. But absolutely insane. I mean, absolutely nuts to see something like this. And I just saw someone say, what is Cessna Corp paying y'all for advertising? That's not a Cessna.
It's a general term, buddy. It's a general term.
It's like a general term. It's like calling sodas Cokes. Okay, just calm down. It's not like we're not saying it's a Cessna. It's actually an Aerosport A-22 because we know. But we just call it a Cessna because that's more funny. But beyond that, this is just the craziest thing that they were able to successfully conduct this strike, and it's showing that the Ukrainians can attack anything. Because I want to remind you all of this. Let me take you all to the satellite view. This area here, from this green line, you see this massive forest belt here. Everything west of the forest belt is what we call European Russia. Everything on the other side of this massive forest belt here is what we call Asian Russia, because it's actually in the continent of Asia. Where this drone ended up striking, it was literally at the very edge of Europe. It was literally, if it had gone about, I believe, 30 more miles, it would have actually been inside of Asia. This is showing that the Ukrainians now have the ability to strike everything in European Russia. There is nothing that is out of their reach. And also, to put this into perspective, considering that this was an 800 and approximately 70-mile strike inside of Russia, let me show y'all what that will look like if they were to go northwards. That means that they could actually fly all the way up to Finland. In fact, they could fly a drone over Russia and almost halfway through Finland, and then that would be the length of the strike that happened today near the area of Ufa. Just to put that into perspective, how long range these drone strikes really are becoming. And it's insane, the kind of damage that we can cause, because I also want to let y'all know that 85% of all Russian oil refineries are within European Russia. Hardly any of them are in Asian Russia. And so this means that due to the range of these strikes, and also the entire populated area of Russia being within Western Russia, this means that everything can be a target of the Ukrainian forces now, because they have the ability to strike anywhere in Russia at this point. Nothing will be safe. And speaking of these refinery attacks causing massive damage, there is already massive damage coming out on the economic sector from Russia. Many of y'all have heard that that Lukoil, well, not Lukoil, it's actually Gazprom, has already declared that for the first time in decades, really since the companies existed, they are losing billions of dollars of revenue pretty much monthly at this point. We got to hear that another major company, a Russian oil giant called Rosgeology, which is the one that drills the oil wells and oil facilities of really every other Russian company, has asked the Russian government to step in and bail out the company because they are losing billions of dollars right now, and they are on the verge of a complete collapse. This is something that is nuts, because it's not only showing that because a lot of Russian propagandists want to make it sound like the statements about Russian companies suffering is mere fiction. This is a reality. This government, this company asked the Russian government today for assistance because they are doing so badly. They are collapsing in on themselves because there is no more oil drilling that's happening. The companies that are already taking massive hits, like Gazprom, that would be asking for more drilling to be done, they're losing massive amounts of profits, and they're trying to figure out how to protect themselves. We've already heard as of today rumors that Gazprom is actually liquidating some of its properties inside of Russia just so that way they can continue to try and keep their company afloat. It's that close to collapsing. And this is all starting to show that the Russian economy is truly in its final throes of being able to cook the books and keep on running for another month, like they have been throughout the entirety of the war. Companies are actually starting to feel the strain, and they're starting to collapse. And they're not Western companies that have a Western parent company or anything like that. These are actual companies that are vital to the Russian economy's existence. Without these companies, Russia will end up collapsing, and we're starting to see the first true signs that these companies are about to start going under, and with it, the Russian Federation is also going to go under as well. And a lot of people have been talking about this craziness, and not only that, there was an interesting sign of disrespect that was shown to Putin today, as some officers did not salute him at the parade. This is starting to show that there may be some underlying unhappiness in Russia with the current leadership. And some people are saying that dissent may be spreading through Russia, not only due to the massive economic turmoil that's clearly starting to boil to the surface like we're seeing right now, but also because we got to see that public display of pretty much dissent on Putin from the officers in the Russian armed forces today. A lot of people have been talking about those two things combined and have been saying, is dissent starting to spread or starting to grow in the Russian Federation? And a lot of people are thinking that it may, some people are thinking that it won't. But Matthew, what are people thinking about this massive thing that's starting to happen inside of Russia? And also, what are you thinking about it as well?
So it looks like about 62% of people said dissent is spreading in the Russian government, and it looks like 16% said it seems so, but I need more info, and 12% said it was probably a mere accident that the two top military leaders did not salute Putin. And if you have not seen the video, it's actually on our Twitter page, by the way. Putin was going along the line of the top military brass and shaking their hands. And of course, they're supposed to salute Putin before they shake his hand. But two guys notably made a point not to salute Putin and simply shake his hand, and that was it. And then they sort of looked away and sort of gave him a side eye, which was a little bit weird. And then now that we're seeing several things happening, we're seeing Surovikin coming back to Russia for some reason out of exile. We're also seeing people around Shoigu get taken down left and right in corruption schemes. I think we're starting to see here that there's some dissent that is actually taking hold in the Russian government that may be much more internal this time than what happened with Prigozhin and the Wagner coup. So I'm holding out hope here that it looks like there are some things bubbling up underneath the surface. And I'm not sure if Putin's able to be actually reached by these people because Putin has really good security. But, you know, the more of it bubbling up, the odds are going to go up that Putin is going to be in some severe trouble. Now, but Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say that it's certainly starting to appear that the dissent is growing in the Russian Federation. I believe it's a very slow growth, but it is certainly starting to move forward because in prior times of the war, we have seen that people have been openly unhappy with the Russian government, like Yevgeny Prigozhin, as well as Surovikin, who ended up supporting the coup, and that's why he was exiled in Africa for a bit. But right now, I think that due to the major economic turmoil that is starting to be caused, that will probably be the biggest thing that will bring the dissent boiling to the surface, is that people are losing their jobs, people are losing their income, and not only that, a lot of these Russian officers, even in the military, are starting to realize that if those companies shrivel up and die, the Russian government is also going to shrivel up and die as well along with them. Less money in the corruption pot to go around, which isn't good for business, at least for the Russian officers, that is. And so I would agree that dissent is certainly spreading throughout the Russian Federation, and it most likely will come to a head here on in the future, in a little bit. Not that long from now, probably near to the end of this year, but in a little bit. And so with that, we're going to be
also, Enforcer, do you want to show the video real quick, by the way? I see a lot of people asking for it. It's on our Twitter, by the way, if you want to show it.
I would love to show the video, but I was actually trying to find it while you were talking about the poll, and it's not on our Twitter. I was looking around.
Go check the likes tab. It'll be under there now.
Go check the likes tab. The likes? Oh, dang, here we go. Look at that. It's like you had that ready. But let's see here. What do we have? All right, here we go. Saluting of the great Putin by the officers. Let's go. He did not salute.
No salute. The first guy didn't either, I don't think.
This guy is actually I guess the commander of the VDV, because he's actually wearing the airborne beret, which is a blue beret. So he did not salute, and he's the leader of the VDV. I wonder if that's for any specific reason, you know, like the butcher of the VDV in the Bucha Hospital European area, or let's see, down near the area of I don't know, Kherson, and also around Robotny. I wonder if he's got any disdain for Putin, because most of his units have pretty much been wiped out at least twice over in the war so far. I don't even know what the orange beret is. And we can also see this guy is wearing the Shmi undershirt from Peter Pan. He's not wearing the Russian shirt. He's just wearing the one that makes him go, "Yes, Captain Huck," or something like that. Dude, what is this? Hang on, let me go pull up the orange beret. Russia orange beret. I gotta find this out. Let's see. Russian Army orange beret. What does it mean? What does it mean? Come on.
I think it's code word for orange beret means he's going to find a very tall window and fall out of it very soon. I think it's code for that.
I gotta figure this one out, though, because I cannot let this go. Let's see. Drape to the left side. Yeah. Okay, so what is this for? What is the purpose of this? Come on, you're not gonna tell me? Come on! Come on, there's gotta be... What's the color of the Russian berets? Okay, so... someone's got a little bit of an answer here, hopefully. Let's see. Maroon, let's see. Adopt blue berets, string that, let's see. So, hang on. No one's actually... Oh my God. Hang on. I gotta find this. You gotta be kidding me. Everyone's just talking about the blue berets. Everyone knows that the blue berets are VDV. We gotta know about that orange one, dagnabbit. What the hell's the orange one for? And why is he wearing a Shmee t-shirt? Like, I gotta know this. Come on, like, oh my.
Also, by the way, while you're looking at that, I see people pointing this out, and I was wondering, I wasn't going to say anything, but is this really Putin right here? Because what is up with the back of his head? Like, something doesn't look right here.
Oh, just a bad haircut. But beyond that, I found
like,
out
that looks like a fake Putin or something, like an imposter Putin.
Man, man, is this about to be like the real Kanye song? Like, I hate the fake food. But anyways, this guy with the orange beret just found this out. That's apparently the Russian rescue service of the armed forces. So apparently he's not feeling that rescued right now. Also, what the hell was this salute right here? This guy saluted his ear. What the hell?
He's probably drunk.
And then we got this guy here who looks like he's straight out of the SS. I don't even know who he was or what part of the military he was in. But beyond that, I think we got a good idea here of there are some officers who just didn't salute. And, you know, it's something that you just would have to deliberately not do. But moving on from that, now that y'all have seen the clip, it's time for us to move on to some things that were a little bit toastier. Because all of y'all know about the record-setting drone attack that happened around Ufa today, which ended up knocking out an oil refinery 870 miles inside of Russia. Meanwhile, in the Kaluga Oblast, we also got to see that another refinery was hit by Ukraine today in this area, causing a massive fireball. And the music is letting
Are they listening to hardcore to rap behind this whole thing?
Man, that sounds like that hardcore rap that's like getting you in your feels, you know? Like it's like the depressing hardcore rap. But yeah, they're listening to rap. Listen to that.
What the hell? It's like they somewhat enjoy this whole thing. They love to see it burn.
Inside every Russian is an arsonist waiting to be released. Here's the next clip. You know, if this was the way Russia was, I'm betting you the electricity bill at night's pretty cheap.
Do you notice, though, that the Ukrainians are basically coming back for round 2 on these plants? Because Kaluga, this one in Kaluga has already been hit before. Like it said right over there in the post, it's been attacked in March. The other one, the Lukoil plant, was already attacked by Ukraine as well. It seems like Ukraine's coming back for round 2 after Russia fixes the plants and they blast them again.
They are. That's right, Matthew. And also, that was another thing I was about to point out here in the end, is that the Kaluga plant actually just came back online 3 days ago after it was knocked out in early March and had been out of service for nearly 3 months. The Russians finally brought it back to full operational status, I think on like the 4th of May, and now 5 days later, the Ukrainians have knocked it out completely again. So the Russians are going to learn their damn lesson. Like, they're going to learn there is no point even fixing these because the Ukrainians are going to come right back and blow them up. And there's nothing that the Russians can really do to stop it. But moving on out of the Kaluga area, we also got to see that something got blown up in Belgrade. We don't really know what, but we did get to see that a fire broke out in the city, and it looked to be burning quite strongly. Man, the car alarm is going to be the new national bird call of Russia. But with that, we're going to be moving on out of the Belgrade area because we don't really know a lot about that explosion. And we're now going to be moving on down into the area of Krasnodar, where we got to see that an oil depot got hit and was cooking.
Вон, ребята,
Let him cook.
горит. 7-й прилет. Да. Это 7-й дрон сейчас прилетел.
It's warm out there, and I love to see it. They're cooking quite tremendously, as a matter of fact. But moving on out of the Russian Federation, because as y'all can see, the Ukrainians are attacking Russian oil refineries in large amounts again and making sure to really keep them offline, which is going to make sure that the oil deficit, the gas deficit that the Russians are in, which is hundreds of thousands of barrels per day, will continue, and the Russians will start to run out of fuel by the later end of this year. Moving on from that, which is once again major and important news, we're now going to be moving on into Berlin, because everyone knows that the Russians' biggest fascination is Berlin, because Schultz Schultz! But beyond that, Germany has made an announcement today that they're going to be buying 3 HIMARS from the United States and then giving them to Ukraine. So what the Germans said is, if we bought the HIMARS, what would we do with them? And then the German defense minister said, double it and give it to the next one, yeah? And so they're going to be giving these to Ukraine. Very nice, wonderful to know. And not only that, we also got to see some German Gepards on their way into Ukraine on these rail cars.
Така ось наша міць.
Well, isn't it cool? I think it's really cool. Moving on from that little bit of news of Western support that's going to be moving its way on into Ukraine, we also got to hear that something else has been done that's really nice today. It's going to be cutting off a lot of Russians from doing something that they've really become accustomed to. Pretty much mooching off of Starlink. A lot of people have been asking us about this for a while, and now that the story has come out today, we can confirm the story completely. The Russians have been illegally buying Starlink systems through shell companies, sending them into Russia, and then letting the armed forces use them inside of Ukraine. Apparently, the entire area, the geographical area of Ukraine, was able to access Starlink if they had a Starlink system, even if they were inside of occupied territory. And so, for that reason, the Russians were able to use Starlink for quite some time so far. And apparently, it was just completely overlooked by the parties involved at hand. But it appears that the Department of Defense has now teamed up with Starlink, which apparently just wasn't able to do this on their own, and they have now been able to cut off the Russians' connection to Starlink, meaning that the Russians will now have to find a new way to be able to operate their drone forces without using Starlink, which is a very critical part of the Ukrainians' drone infrastructure and how they've been using them on the front lines so far. But
I thought that Musk had turned over control of Starlink to the Pentagon a while back. Like, why are they acting like this is a new cooperation?
I'm not really sure. This was actually put out by Bloomberg today, which tells us that this may have been something that we were a little misinformed on, because it does seem like this was just something that was going awry for a while and it was just being fixed today. So interesting to hear. Hopefully we can try and get a little bit more of a clearer picture of that as time goes on. But like Matthew's saying right now, we've already heard so many different things about Starlink and the government's relationship with each other that right now we're having to take this at face value. But this is still something that I have to say is it's just a little odd, a little interesting. But moving on from that little bit of news and out of the United States, it's time for us to start moving on into Ukraine, because there's so much that happened in Ukraine today. But so many people have also been talking about another big thing that happened. Zelensky fired his security chief after the assassination plot was foiled just days ago. And a lot of people are wondering, what happened? What happened? And a lot of people are saying that the security chief was incompetent. Some people are saying that the security chief may have been in on it. And some people are saying that it seems a little odd. But Matthew, what are people really thinking about this? And what are you thinking about it?
All right, so after we learned the other day that Zelensky was almost the target and almost a successful target of an assassination plot, but it was foiled by the SBU, we're hearing now that Zelensky has fired his security chief. And the big question is, why do you think that happened? Because it's kind of odd to me. It looks like 45% said the security chief was incompetent, maybe. 28% said the security chief was in on it. And 12% said, it does seem a little bit odd. And I must admit that the assassination attempt was actually foiled. So the fact that people are getting fired is a little bit strange, because it seems like you don't fire people if it was actually successfully foiled. So I'm assuming that there was some sort of incompetence going on there or something like that. Or maybe Zelensky simply lost confidence in him, although, he did foil it. So I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. But it seems a little bit odd, I must admit. So I'm kind of with the 13%. But Enforcer, what say you?
I'd have to say, does seem a little odd. I mean, the assassination attempt was overdone. I mean, they arrested the people, they went to jail. Well, they're going to be held accountable on trial here soon in the future. But nevertheless, I would have to actually say it's a little weird. And I see some people saying he probably doesn't trust him. Maybe not. But still, I'd have to say the guy has to be at least somewhat competent, because Zelensky's alive right now, and the people who are going to kill him, will kill him, have been arrested, probably thanks to the security chief. So I would say that, in my opinion, a little bit weird. That would be my take on it. But once again, I don't really know a lot of the interior details of this matter to be able to speak on it a lot. But still, very interesting. And I just saw someone say, they are actually actors. It's propaganda, drumming up sympathy. Man,
We're actors?
I love, dude, I love the conspiracy theory people who believe that everyone in the world is a paid actor. Like, according to conspiracy theorists, man, Hollywood is the largest employer of people worldwide. Like, everyone is an A-list actor, according to some conspiracy theorists. But to be entirely honest, of course we're actors. We get paid like everyone else, but I'm just kidding, we don't. But in all honesty, I would have to definitely say that that is a little weird. Because, like I was saying a minute ago, if the guy did his job and Zelensky's not dead, why would you fire him? I mean, apparently he's doing his job well, but, you know, who knows? Maybe we don't have all the details. Maybe he was in on it, and it was actually the FSB that ended up catching the assassination attempt, and the security chief was completely unaware of it. Who knows? But
The FSB caught it.
well, I'm sorry, not the FSB, the SBU, which sounds.
I was about
very
to say, man, the Russians launched their assassination attempt, and they said, "Hey, watch out, Zelensky, we're sending some guys." Like, what?
Dude, they went, "Ooh, we're going to kill you." And Zelensky was like, "Really? On God? What do you think, security
No
chief?"
cap.
He's like, "No cap, bussin', for real, for real." But beyond that, I hope that does address that the best I can, and at least in my opinion. But Matthew, before we move on into the rest of the news that we have inside the Ukrainian front lines, which is a lot, mind you all, because there was a huge amount of losses that the Russians took today, and because of that, we have a decent amount of frontline clips and footage. We have to get into some questions because there have been a lot of them. And I also have to thank everyone for throwing in a massive amount of support tonight. Already early on, we thank y'all greatly for that because it helps us out a lot. But Matthew, what do we got?
All right, so first up, our first super chat of the night is going to go to a channel legend. It is BC Skyman, and he threw in a combined $100 donation and sent us a super sticker of the YouTube creature riding the firework out into the sunset and exploding somewhere near a Russian crowd. But anyways, thank you very much, BC, for that support, and always being a longtime channel legend. And Enforcer, what say you?
And I gotta say that we love to know that that YouTube creature is riding the lightning. It's just like that crowd in Russia was when that firework blew up right in their faces. But I gotta say, thank you for the massive support, BC Skyman, and helping this channel to keep on running. I gotta say that if it wasn't for someone like you, BC Skyman, who's helped to support this channel a great deal over time, we wouldn't be able to help to make this thing possible and keep it running, and I greatly appreciate your continuous support, because we run an ad-free, sponsor-free live stream. The only way that we can keep this channel running is through y'all's support, and without y'all, we wouldn't be able to be here. We wouldn't even be able to exist as a channel. And so the channel's entire existence is thanks to each one of y'all, especially you, BC Skyman, because you've been around a great deal and helping to support this channel. And so with that, thank you so much once again, BC Skyman, for being an absolute legend. And thank you for helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And BC Skyman said, "Must keep you boys plenty of food." And thank you very much, BC. We love our pierogies. We love the potatoes. And thank you very much. And our next one here is going to go to Love Is Everything, who puts in a $22 donation. And thank you very much for that support as well. They said, "Love to everyone," and take a question from the chat. I mean chat.
And love to you. And I got to thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, because it is folks like you, just like I was saying, that make this channel possible. And if it wasn't for folks like you who helped to keep this channel rolling and helped us to keep our lights on, well, we wouldn't be able to be here. And so with that, thank you so much, Love Is Everything, for the support. And love really is everything. And we will make sure to get a question from the cat. And so, Matthew, what is the question that came from the small feline creature in the corner of the room?
All right, so I'm being told by the LSA cat that the live chat question is going to go to Leonce Pierre, who says, "If Putin keeps purging his inner circle, who's going to keep him in power?"
If Putin purges his inner circle, it'll be the next group of yes men. And also, I hate to pause this live chat for just a moment, but did y'all see someone shilling for Scott Ritter in the live chat? Like, I just ended up banning him, but I saw that, and I was like, they said, "You better watch Scott Ritter if you want the real truth. This podcast is so far off from the truth." It's like, say whatever you want about how truthful or how untruthful we are, but I'm not I believe, a registered sex offender, so we got that going for us. It's like I hate to say it, But there's a thing that we've done that we have not done that guy has done, and I think that largely discredits a lot of what he has to say, because no matter what, you can always just come back and say that about that guy, and you can't about us. So I'm just saying, maybe not the best podcast to listen to, maybe not the best person to get advice on the world from. But beyond that, I hope that does address that bot fairly well, because that's the first time I've ever seen a Scott Ritter shill in the chat. Never seen that before. I don't think we will again. But beyond that, I would also like to quickly get back to that live chat and say, if he purchases everyone in the inner circle, he will just get more yes men to keep him in power, because that's actually what Stalin did. Stalin eventually almost got rid of everyone who was in his original inner circle and just replaced them over time. So that's, well, here's the thing. He replaced them over time, but it wasn't all at one point, because if he purged everyone and he had a brand new group of yes men altogether, that would be incredibly dangerous. So Stalin would have them knocked off one at a time, and then he would bring in a new person into that person's place, and the other people who were still around from the original inner circle were too scared to do anything because they didn't want to go like the last guy went. And so that's kind of how Putin will do it, and we've seen that already. That's how he does it. So that way he can make sure that the balance isn't tipped against him, and he continues to keep running the inner circle with fear, and just keep on replacing people who may get a little too out of line overall. And so with that, I hope that does address that fairly well, at least in my opinion. And thank you so much once again for support, love is everything, and helping this channel to keep on running, and also sponsoring that live chat, which is a really good one. And with that, we are now going to be moving on into the final question of the segment, and then we're going to be moving right back into the Ukrainian frontline news.
All right, and the last one here is going to go to Khan, who puts in a very generous $100 donation. And thank you very much, Khan, for that very generous support. He says, yes, Elon Musk, Russian Starlink. That's what Khan says. He says, I don't know what to say about him. Nothing bad. Even though he says he supports the good guys, he gets a lot of the good guys killed. And Musk shut down the very first Ukrainian offensive in the Black Sea when the war started.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you, Khan. That was really weird. And also, that was I'll be entirely unfiltered here, because usually I try and be filtered on folks who are public figures and stuff. But that was such a stupid, moralistic grandstand thing, because I'll be entirely honest. Twitter isn't the greatest place anymore. I'm not going to get into why people complain about it. I will say this though: I don't really like Twitter now, because every time I get on there, I don't want to see Elon's memes. Like great, he does memes. That's wonderful. It's his platform. But do we all have to see his memes? I don't think so. Like that's something that kind of annoys me a little bit. And also, it's kind of like an attention grabbing thing a little bit. And so when you move that over into a war where people are dying, and you go, I personally disagree with this, I'm just going to cut off their Starlink connection. It's like, I don't really think you're in a position to be able to do something like that. It's like, how self-important can one person be to sit there and go, you know what, I have a moral objection to what they're doing, so I'm going to screw over an entire country just on my own personal whim. That seems, that's not the greatest thing in my opinion. But I will say, Starlink has helped out a good bit for the Ukrainians. But the fact that apparently, from what we're hearing, it went on for an incredibly long time that everyone knew that the Russians were using Starlink and no one did anything about it, I'm not really a big fan of that either. Apparently, the Pentagon finally caught on and had Starlink shut that down, or find a way to shut down those systems. But I don't like that went on that long and was completely unnoticed. So I'll have to say, I'm not really a big fan with how the whole Starlink thing has gone as far as Ukraine is concerned. It's not that good. I will say though that other companies under Elon's control, like SpaceX, are fairly good. I mean, you can't really complain about them. They're making space, I guess you could say, transportation a lot cheaper and a lot more efficient. But then with Tesla, you got the Cybertruck, and I haven't heard a single good thing coming from anyone who's gotten a Cybertruck at this moment. So, it's kind of a hit and miss thing here and there. But I would have to say, it's a little bit of a tough thing, isn't it, Con? I would have to say that. But I would have to agree that the whole thing that happened with the Black Sea Fleet and all that was pretty shameful. I would agree. But beyond that, I thank you so much for the massive amount of support, Con, and helping this channel to keep on running, because it is folks like you who help to make this channel possible and help us to keep this thing running. And with that, we are going to be moving on into the next bit of news, but I got to thank all three of y'all. Once again, love is everything, BC Skyman and Con, for the incredible support and helping this channel to keep running, because y'all, all three, and everyone else who supports, helps to make this channel possible every single day we're live on air, and we owe a massive debt of gratitude and appreciation to each and every one of y'all who go through links y'all don't even have to go through to help make this channel possible and help support us in doing this as a full-time job. We are incredibly honored and thankful that y'all find this channel that worthwhile, and just thank y'all so much once again for that. But really quickly, before we move on, I have seen a lot of people talking about the Ritter in the chat, and I will say I've never seen a bot shill it. Like, you gotta think, like, I'm just gonna say this, because from what I understand, Matthew, if I'm getting this right, the guy is a convicted offender.
Well, see, when you said that, I was like, let me go double check that before we really dig deep into that claim. So I went here on NBC News. This is what NBC News says. It says ex-UN inspector gets prison in Pennsylvania sex case. And it says he was convicted in an online sex sting, up to 5.5 years behind bars. Let's see here. It's really actually quite nasty here, the description here of what was done. Yeah, we're not reading that. Not reading that, but that's very disturbing to hear that. Let's see here. Says he was taken into custody. So I believe this is the same guy. So if it is, he's been convicted on several different things here. Looks like he's been convicted on, let's see. I don't have it in front of me right now, but it looked like it was like a felony or a misdemeanor or something like that. Some pretty serious charges. And also, I came across a video of him speaking, it looks like in Chechnya, to the Chechen soldiers. So this guy's not exactly someone you want to listen to, I don't think, to put it mildly.
Yeah, you know, it's like when someone comes in here and says, this guy is so wrong, go listen to the convicted offender. And I can't even say the first part of the offender thing, y'all know, fill in the blank. But it's like, don't listen to this guy, go listen to the convicted offender. It's like, is that really a good thing? Because it's like, I'm not going to trust someone with a war analysis who I couldn't trust around my children. You know what I mean? Like, that seems like it's a little ass backwards. Like, you ought to be able to trust them around your children first and then war analysis second, instead of having to trust them on war analysis, but not around the kids. So with that, I hope that puts it out there fairly well. Because we don't mean to start beef, but I would start a beef on that. I'm not even gonna take anyone seriously who has something like that in their background. That is gross. But moving on.
Also, by the way, it says 5 felony counts and 2 misdemeanors, according to the New York Times. So, goodness gracious. And even the New York Times wrote in their article, as he always has been, self-righteous and inclined to be very, very bold in his statements. He does seem very bold for someone who's had a very checkered past. And I'm like the enforcer. I don't mind going to war over that one. If he decides to come after us over that one, no way in hell I'm backing off of that. Like, no way. Especially considering he appears to be shilling for Russia at the same time after all that. So just a nasty fellow all the way around, I must say.
Yeah, really, really nasty guy. I can't even believe anyone would come in here, man. They go, these people are bad. Go listen to the offender. It's like, go listen to the felon. Dude, like a convicted felon. Like a jury listened to the evidence and found him guilty. That kind of a person. It's like, I'd rather not. Like, I don't think anyone should. But anyways, we're going to be moving on from that. I just had to quickly touch on that again, but, you know, my goodness. But anyways, moving on into the rest of the Ukraine war news and getting on down into the location unknowns, we were able to see that another M120 rack was in use today. Sadly, that is no longer the case, but we did get to see a sniper in a ghillie suit right here. And, oh, buddy, that's really cool looking. I like that. Respectable even.
Respect.
There's just a void where his face is supposed to be, but I respect that a lot. Moving on.
Oh, it's a ghost. Oh.
Ooh, I'm going to blow up your fireworks display. Ooh. But anyways, moving on from that into the next clip, we also got to see what the Ukrainians did on May 9th. Here's the clip. That's how they celebrated May 9th.
Wow.
Pretty cool. Moving on from that, while my voice was cracking all over the place, we also got to see the Russian casualty report over the past 24 hours. And oh my lord.
Oh
Like,
my goodness, man. 8 Bobcats and 1,300 troops gone? Damn.
man, 8 Bobcat skid steers were obliterated. 1,300 Russian troops were wounded and killed over the past 24 hours. 35 armored personnel carriers were knocked out. 69. Nice. Supply trucks were destroyed. 11 main battle tanks wiped off the face of the earth. 23 artillery systems knocked out. 47 drones destroyed. 1 MLRS destroyed. 41 cruise missiles destroyed. 1 anti-aircraft warfare system obliterated. And that was all of the losses that occurred for the Russian Federation on the 9th of May. And even with all of that, they ended up not really gaining any ground. They gained a little bit of ground in the Avdiivka area, getting towards the 2nd defensive line, but it wasn't a lot for these kinds of losses over the whole front line. And so with that, let us move on out of our location unknowns and on into that frontline news because it is raw juice. Up in the northeastern area, it was a little bit more quiet in picture and video evidence today, and as we saw, it does appear that there is a lot less frontline activity. Let me make sure to refresh this so that we can get the 9th of May. It appears that there is a lot less frontline activity than normal. We're not really seeing that there were any frontline changes at all in the entirety of the Northeast, and we did get to see that Russian equipment was damaged by the 14th Separate Regiment of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Here is the clip as they show off these Russian vehicles that have already been destroyed or are about to be destroyed, like this one. And we can see them just peppering these Russian positions. Man, they're mincing these things up and getting ready to turn them into hot dogs.
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
Man, make sure you season them up good now. Salt, pepper, put a little paprika on it, put a little Old Bay on it.
Man, put a little bit of Old Spice because you know that be stanking in the summer heat. Goodness.
Man, you gonna put shampoo on you gonna put shampoo on it?
Man, I'm telling you, man, put something on it because it's going to smell terrible. That's going to be reeking in a couple of days. But moving on from that and into our next clip, we also got to see another Russian column being destroyed in this area, south of Krokmalny, which I found out was kind of around the area of the village of Krokmalny, right over there. So I put the clip here. You know, it lines up. So here's the clip. No.
Damn, okay. Out of me.
We see the shell firing, and here they come. The cluster rounds are coming in. Aw, man. I saw those Russians hotboxing the tree line, and I went, aw, man, that could be me. I need the people not to be here for the war. I need them here for me. But we can now see that the cluster rounds are about to start coming on in. And there goes a Russian tank right there, actually, just hit dead on. We don't even know by what.
Man, they're leaving behind a track of napalm.
Oh, and another hit. Oh, my lord. Oh, my goodness.
Oh.
Oh.
Little extra one.
Oh, my lord. Oh. Another one. Oh, and it's done for. And all of them are done for. My goodness. What an impressive series of knockouts. Love to see it. It's amazing to see the stuff. And once again, showing us the Ukrainians are doing a damn good job up in the northeast, holding those lines. Moving on down into the Bakhmut area. We also got to see that down here, things were kind of interesting, really juicy over the past 24 hours. Because the Russians did not move an inch. That's right, this is the 8th of May, this is the 9th of May. The Russians did not move forward a single inch. That's because all of them died. And so I'm going to get y'all into the 2 clips we got, showing them dying. Here's a T-80 BVM getting knocked out. Oh! Straight up ammo cook-off immediately. Called us a bakery because they be cooking up that bread. And Brett B put in the chat, "Aw, man. And we can see that T-80 BVM cooking. My goodness. It's smoking, Matthew. Oh, man. Is it some of that good kush? No. Huh?
Somebody yesterday was absolutely just like, it was spamming in the chat. They're like, do that stoner voice you like to do. It's like, well, here you go. We got the stoner voice now. It's back.
You wanted it, now you have it. It's here. And also, we got to see another T-80 BVM get knocked out, Matthew. 2 for 1, both in the Bakhmut area today.
A Ukrainian BOGO deal.
Man, it's like Mr. George's wet dream, right? He's like,
Whoa.
I opened up a corner store and I had to get the music piping through the store. If you're from the South and you worked at Publix, you'll know what I'm talking about. But we can now see that the T-80 BVM has had the grenade go off inside of it, and the cook-off will begin here very shortly.
Love as everything said, I like those Londoner voices you do.
Man, everyone likes a voice, but then everyone also hates a voice. So it makes it like voice roulette. Like, which one do I pull out and which one's hated? But beyond that, that little T-80 BVM, oh, it blew up. A nice little cloud of shrapnel everywhere. And also, someone said that we're pigs. And I'm sorry, we're not pigs. That's actually your mother that you were looking at. Or maybe even yourself in the mirror. That may be one or the other. But sadly, we don't look like pigs. I'm sorry. I do eat like a pig, though, but I don't look like a pig, all right? Get it straight. But anyways, we got to see the tank literally disintegrate from the explosion. There's not really a lot left at all, as a matter of fact. And we can see here the other BVM toasting and roasting in the field.
This is where all the tanks went that were supposed to be in the parade. They're out here burning.
Man, look, this one said, "Me in." Oh wait a minute, man! This one said, "Me in the candy don't." Me in the candy don't run. It's just it blew up. It inches out because it's called in the candy. Why the hell did they call it?
Candy.
Man,
I even, Russia's known for anacondas. Let's call it something that we don't really have.
Man, look, this thing shit out the freaking intestine right here at the end. Look, it went. It's just a burning intestine or something. It's not an intestine, by the way. I just want to make that very clear. But that's the end of that little clip. Very nice to see. And love to know that they are bombing the Russian forces in this area. Very nice. Very nice. Moving on from that, and down into the area of Avdiivka, we did get to see that over the past 24 hours, something has changed. Which is not a damn thing! Oh! It's just like nothing changed. The Ukrainians held the line again today. The Russians did not move forward and suffered massive losses for literally zero gains. Isn't that wonderful, y'all? Isn't that great? The Russians thought they were going to get Chasiv Yar and they were going to push the Ukrainians off the E50 by the 9th of May. And here they are, not achieving either and sitting on their asses, just like Chris's mom. And moving on to the area... Oh,
and also, by the way, there's still a YouTuber out there saying that, oh, man, the Russians are cornering them in. It's almost over. They're still out there saying it. But you can see on the map, they're proven wrong.
Oh, man, it's so over. Meanwhile, the Ukrainians are actually doing very damn well. Oh, it's so over. But hey, quick question, everyone. If someone was a pro-Russian propagandist, but they were hiding in the Ukraine war community, what would they look like? Like would they look like someone who may have a degree in business at a private university, or would they look like a hot dog seller in Minnesota? What would they look like? I'm very interested in that. Let me know in the chat what they would look like. But moving on from that, we also got to see that a T-9DM up in the area around Ochretine got hit several times by the 47th Brigade today. And we could see the T-9DM rolling on along.
It's
quite
booking
fast.
it too, about smoking.
Oh,
Oh.
Oh my goodness.
Now the turret's out of control.
Dude, don't you love it how when the gunner gets knocked unconscious, they're just like, quickly, traverse! And then they start spinning the turret in circles.
Oh, man. Hey, look, there's a Ukraine sign. Welcome to Ukraine, bitches.
Man, long live the LSA, bitches! And then it gets hit again. But I love to see it, and it's wonderful to see that they were able to knock out this T-90M. It also looks like they obliterated the cope cage, or the little of it that existed on the top. Oh yeah, they did. They knocked out both cope cages that were on top of that T-90 with that one drone hit. So really cool, and I like to see it. But moving on from that, we're now going to be getting out of this area, the T-90M up near Otradtene, and on down into the area of Orlivka, where we also got the report today that an Su-25 was reportedly shot down in the Avdiivka battlefield by Ukrainian forces. Big news. We haven't been able to get picture or video evidence to confirm this, but we are going to largely take this at face value, because usually picture and video evidence of aircraft being shot down near to front lines on either side is really hard to find. So we are going to take their word on this one, but that's a very rare exception. Moving on from that and down near the area of Tenenke, we got to see another Russian tank cooking. And we could see here, the tank's about to go, and it went. And oh!
Man, what, it have thermite inside of it?
I have no idea, but dude, that honestly reminded me of the T-72s that would get blown up in Syria, the way they looked. I don't know if you ever watched those clips.
I've seen a few of them. It looks like it burned a hole through the top of that like metal like cope cage had on it.
I think it may have, actually.
That's what they call the in the Russian cooking and chef world, the Russian flambe.
Man, I might have to try that one day, you know? Ooh, that thing
baked,
is toasty.
like, you know, like baked Alaska, but baked Ruski.
Better yet, this is what they call in Russia, Matthew, baked Siberia.
Baked Siberia, blядь.
Baked
It's so cold you burn to death.
Man, it was so frost to death. It's like, how the hell? Like, it's just like, let's just pause for a minute and just realize the stupidity of this lyric. But moving on from that and into the area around Vadiane, we got to see that the Ukrainians hit a Russian tree hugger. It appears that he was a bit of a pacifist. I'll show you all in this clip. We see them here, lining up the drone. It's now coming in on final approach. And so many people are talking about the voices they miss. Y'all, I cannot believe that y'all actually missed the voices, because back when I did them, the chat was filled with, like, raw hate against the voices. Everyone was like, oh my god, stop! And then, like, everyone who ever left our channel would be like, I quit because they do the voices. And I was like, okay, I guess we'll just stop doing voices. And now everyone's like, I miss them. And it's like, dang, y'all miss them. Y'all really do. But moving on from that, we got to see this Mr. S get destroyed in Avdiivka. This is what we call a rat piece of shit right here. No comment. No comment. But we now see the drone coming on in and bink! Ooh!
Bink! Man, it's just like a little speck out there in the field just happened to go poof.
Man, I'll tell you what. And oh man, I'm telling you, I get no respect around here. Oh man, back when I did the voices, people didn't like them. Now they're coming back and they're going, oh man, I really like them. And I'm like, oh man, I'm telling you, it's really tough to try and figure out what y'all want. Oh man, I'm telling you. Oh man, I just want people to be here for me. Oh man, I'm telling you.
For me.
For me. But anyways. Moving on from that, nice to see a Mr. S get destroyed by kind of battery today. And we're now going to be moving on down out of the Avdiivka area, because we didn't get any news from the Krasnoyarivka flank on the Battle of Karlivka at the moment. And also, moving on down and on into the area of Mariupol. We got to see something really big today. While Matthew just sent me a text message that says Pol, but it's spelled with one L. So it's like Pol. It's not like Pol, it's just Pol. But anyways, moving on down into Mariupol, we got to hear today that a Russian base in Mariupol ended up getting hit massively by an ATACMS attack. Here's the picture of the mushroom cloud that was created from the strike, but reportedly an ATACMS missile hit the Russian Armed Forces facility in Mariupol. Like, zoink scoop, I think we're all out of ammo. Retro raggy bomb. But still, very nice to see. Love to see it. And we're always happy to know that the Ukrainians are using those ATACMS that they just got brand new, courtesy of Uncle Sam and taxpayers like myself, to obliterate Russian positions. Because I think that is the best use of my tax dollars. Because, well, to be quite honest with y'all, I generally dislike the Russian army. I don't know if y'all been able to catch on to that, but I don't like them. But moving on from that, and on into the area of the southern front, it is time for us to move on into the quieter area of the front line, where we got to see that the Ukrainians were hunting Russian forces down here. And we're about to see them get hunted. And here comes the drone. It's hunting them down. Bing.
Oh, bink.
Ooh.
Got a little piece of toilet paper went flying off of it that time.
Man, and check this out. Bing. Ooh.
Get a load of that.
Man. I'm going to turn into a Russian man. Oh, boy. Look at it, Vadim. You know, it's like, wow, Vadim. I haven't seen anything this great in my life, Vadim. Since I went to the school, them versus Vasnoika. Oh, boy. Vasnoika was
Russian school number 17. It was rough times in the school.
I forgot the name of the them versus whatever, them versus Avoinka or whatever. But we can see the next drone coming in, hitting this Russian vehicle. Ooh.
Oh, dear.
Why did the Russian cross the road? To get blown up on the other side. And simply the end of the clip. But it was a good moment to watch the Russians getting hit heavily in that area. Meanwhile, we got to see the Ukrainians were dropping clusters on them Russians in another area of the front line. Here's the clip. And a bada boof, bada boom. Man. Goodness, man. The bots are coming in tonight with some fresh ones. Like ones that, comments that are so good that you can get such good comebacks on. It's hard not to say something about them, you know? Like, just to throw something back. But we're not going to do that.
They're rage baiting, man. I'm telling you what. Then the bots are coming in heavy, man, tonight. I'm having to break out the extra strength can of bot be gone tonight. But they're getting out of here.
And they are getting out of here. And they're not coming back, y'all. They're just simply not. But with that, the southern front is largely remaining stable as normal. And moving on over into the area of the Garrison front, we also understand that this front line is largely inactive. The Ukrainians do halfway control Krenki, and they also control Kazachi Lahari completely at the moment. And at this time, we're not hearing of a heavy amount of battlefield activity in this area, and it appears to be very low intensity fighting if there is any going on at the moment. Moving on from that, it is now time for us to go up to the air defense report that we have near Kyiv. Because today was a nice day. 17 Shahed 136s were shot down by air defense. Once again, beautiful numbers. And we love to see numbers like that. Don't we, Matthew? We love to see them.
I love numbers. I love it.
And speaking of which, we've been talking about this with all of y'all. Ukraine has been making some secret underground defense plants, and will Ukraine become a major weapons supplier? Do y'all think they have a future in that, like the weapons business? You know, like making bombs and tanks. Do y'all think that they'll be doing something like that? Do y'all think that peace makes money, or do y'all think war makes money, or do you think Ukraine's going to make money on war? What do y'all think? What's the spill here? Come on, Matthew, tell me. What are people thinking? What are you thinking about as well?
Okay, so on this poll, the question is, Ukraine is now making secret underground defense plants, and will Ukraine become a major weapons supplier? It looks like 57% said yes, Ukraine will become one, 25% said maybe after the war, then yes, and then 8% said no, Ukraine will remain small in the defense industry. And I do believe that after this war is over, Ukraine definitely has a huge opportunity to go into the defense sector, because they've made such advancements in drones and systems like that to fight on the battlefield that they can definitely market that to the rest of the world. I'm sure people will buy it. And also, by the way, these underground secret plants that they are building are very cool. They let cameras into one of them, and they have those new drone boats sitting right in the middle of the place, like lit up with one light. It looks super cool, like a showroom or something. But it's very, very, very advanced looking. And the fact they're building them underground means Russia can't hit them. So that's even better. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say, I think that Ukraine will most likely become a major weapon supplier, not in every category, but in several. Most likely the drone category will be their biggest one, because they've certainly been evolving greatly in that regard, and also the industry that has been built up around it because of the war is massive. It probably will not go away after the war. It'll just end up being a major supplier worldwide, probably to really anyone who would want to buy them, to be quite honest. And so with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. And really quickly, I have to scoot y'all down into the Middle East, because we have a little update going on down here. We got to hear that peace talks were suspended. Hamas threw a hissy fit today and ended the talks that were going on in Cairo, and now things will be going on as normal. It appears that tensions are in fact heating up in this area. We also got to see another picture that came from the Rafah border crossing showing a Namer APC over to the right side and a Merkava Merkava Mark IV, I believe that is an LIC, I believe, right over there in the left side of the screen. It is once again giving us a really good idea that this is not going to die down anytime soon. Tensions are going to stay high, and probably for a good reason, because as we know, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, a part of the Iranian government, is continuing to fund and support Hezbollah and Hamas in their operations against Israel. And for these reasons, we'll most likely see that Israel will continue their actions against both groups. So with that, a lot of people have been wondering, where in the world is this going to go? And also another thing that we've heard is that apparently the United States has continued to block military aid to Israel amidst the possible Rafah invasion, which is now underway. And a lot of people have been talking about this and thinking about this. Should the United States support Israel 100%, or should we hold back the support? What should we do? What in the world should we do in that realm? And Matthew, what are people saying in the very first openings of this question?
Okay, so the question says, the U.S. continues to block military aid to Israel amidst the possible Rafah invasion, and what are your thoughts? 60% so far said the U.S. should support Israel 100%, while 27% said the U.S. should hold back support, and 5% said, I need more info on this. And for me, I think we should support our allies 100%. Our allies are not going to be perfect. I do want to make that clear. No country is perfect. And we should hold Israel to accountable to standards, but we should not go to the point where we just immediately start holding back military aid from our allies, because to me, that sends a very bad message that basically will bend to political pressure. Anytime we start having political pressure in the U.S., all of a sudden we're willing to abandon our allies. So to me, that's a terrible message to send. I think we should not fall into that rabbit hole by doing what we're doing right now. So I'm with the 57%. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say that I'm with the 57% as well. I think that the United States should back up Israel 100%. The United States does have to make sure to prioritize Western interests over anything going on in the region. So I would have to say, in my opinion, I think it would probably be a better suited route to continue supporting them. And some people have said, let's see, and I see some people saying, stop helping Israel kill civilians. Well, here's the thing that I gotta say really quickly, and this is just being completely unbiased. Haven't they both ended up killing civilians over the past 6 months? Because if I recall correctly, the entire thing that we're dealing with right now was caused because Hamas ran over the border and ended up killing about 2,000 Israeli civilians, and deliberately went out of their way to only target and kill civilians. So, you know, is it, like, it's kind of trying to make it sound like, oh, we don't want Israel killing the civilians, we only want Hamas doing it because, that's how it is. And in that area, like, and it's terrible. Civilian losses should be completely curbed. But in this area of the world, this is largely just how things end up going. It's a brutal place. Hamas uses people as human shields. The Israelis end up sometimes indiscriminately bombing Hamas and end up taking out a lot of civilians themselves. Hamas likes to target Israeli civilians on their own. And because of that, it's just a brutal world down there. I mean, it's like the rules of war hardly even apply in this place. They should, but they really don't. And so saying at the moment that because the Israelis have ended up killing some civilians, we ought to not support them, and we ought to let them now be the victims of the Iranians that are more than happy to openly pretty much publicize that they would like to commit a genocide against Jewish people, or really Israelis living in Israel at all. And so that's something that I'd say kind of starts to make a bit of a a bit of an issue there. And also, and I know a lot of people are going to be saying, oh, that's brutal sounding to say that civilians dying is a way of life down there. But it really is. I mean, it is. If you look at anything that's happened in this area, that's just how it works. Back when the United States was in Iraq and Afghanistan, the Mujahideen and also ISIS and other groups would use civilians as human shields because they knew that based off of our rules of war or our rules of engagement, that we wouldn't be able to engage them because there were civilians around. And then sometimes U.S. forces would go to hell with the ROE, and then they'd end up engaging these people, and then they'd end up killing civilians. Because these folks in this region, terrorist groups, they largely understand. They don't care what they have to do. They just have to win. And if it means putting civilians in harm's way and then later on making them sound like innocent victims that the United States went out of their way to kill, they'd be more than happy to do something like that, just like they would be able to do to Israel. So I would have to say I would have to say the United States should support Israel 100%. I can't really make an argument for us not to, because if we don't, we're ending up letting people who are purely anti-Western, such as the Iranians, end up winning in the end. So I hope that does address that fairly well, at least in my opinion. And also I saw Daniel Miller say collateral damage. I don't really like that phrase because it makes civilian deaths seem kind of trivial. It's just collateral. It sounds almost like you hit someone's car. I'm not really a big fan of that. That's what it is in the end. But I don't like to just, sign off civilians no matter what, even if it's just the way things work down there, as collateral damage, because it just sounds very nonchalant about wiping out people who may have had nothing to do with it at all. Now, civilian casualties should be completely avoided, and we should put a decent amount of pressure, and we have been, on the Israelis to try and curb civilian casualties. But there's only so far that we can go before it becomes unreasonable. And at the moment, I think we're starting to become unreasonable on the Israelis, because we have seen that Hamas is more than happy, and Hezbollah is more than happy to target and kill civilians whenever they get the chance. And so with that, I hope that does address that the best I can. It's a very tough subject, I know, and a lot of people are going to be saying that. And it is a tough subject, but that would largely be my take on it at the moment. And so with that, I hope we can cover that fairly well. And we're now going to be moving on out of Israel and out of the Middle Eastern segment, which was a little bit short, and back up to Kyiv, so that way we can cover the speech from President Volodymyr Zelensky here on day 806 of the war on the 9th of May. And so, without further ado, here is the speech. Speech!
Дорогі українці, українки, головне за сьогодні. Провів нараду з керівниками наших Сил оборони України, головком Сирський, начальник Генерального штабу Баргилевич, міністр оборони України Умєров. І про те, як прискорити постачання зброї від партнерів, і про те, як діяти зараз наявними силами і засобами, наявною зброєю, щоб досягти необхідних нам результатів. Бачимо, до чого готується окупант, буде йому відповідь. І дякую усім нашим солдатам та командирам, кожному підрозділу, які ефективно діють на фронті і знищують окупанта. Особливої вдячності за бої цими днями заслуговує підрозділ ГУР «Кракен». Дякую вам, хлопці, усім, хто дає Україні результат. Результат, який нам так потрібен. Сьогодні ж призначив нового командувача Сил спеціальних операцій Олександра Трепака. Достойна людина, сильний воїн, герой України. Другий за сьогодні – візит в Україну президентки Європарламенту Роберти Мецоли. Дуже символічно, що саме сьогодні, у День Європи, наше з Робертою спілкування з журналістами перервала повітряна тривога. Це те, чим російські нацисти хочуть підмінити життя не лише в Україні, а в усій нашій Європі. Всюди, куди дотягнуться їхні терористичні удари. Україну вони не злякають і не зламають так само, як і всіх тих, хто сміливо та принципово допомагає нам захищати життя. Пані президентка Європарламенту якраз із таких лідерів, які з нами від перших днів цієї війни і завжди підтримують настільки, наскільки потрібно. Сьогодні ми обговорили з Робертою, які ще політичні та оборонні кроки потрібні, щоб ми дійсно могли витримати всі удари і зірвати російські наступальні та дестабілізаційні плани. Я хочу також сьогодні подякувати усім учасникам вже другого саміту українських та європейських громад. Саміту, що відбувся тут, у Києві були представлені країни Європейського Союзу, а також Сполучені Штати. Дуже важливо, що є угоди про співпрацю між нашими громадами та громадами і компаніями країн-партнерів Німеччини, Польщі, Молдови, Словаччини, Австрії, Румунії, Сполучених Штатів. Це і для розвитку медицини в Україні, реабілітаційних можливостей у наших громадах, а також для розвитку транспорту, для відбудови. Я вдячний усім учасникам саміту, кожній громаді, кожній країні, які зараз з Україною, які наповнюють реальною співпрацею кожної з тих домовленостей, що досягаються. І, звичайно, було сьогодні багато міжнародної нашої комунікації. Президент Європейської ради Шарль Мішель, щойно також я говорив з президенткою Європейської комісії Урсулою фон дер Ляєн. Активно готуємось на червень. Наступний етап зближення з Євросоюзом. Очікуємо затвердження переговорної рамки і фактичний початок перемовин про вступ України. Наша держава, наші люди заслуговують на це. І Євросоюзу потрібен цей крок. Не просто політично потрібен, це життєва сила Євросоюзу. Бути таким європейським проєктом, який не залишає ніколи поза межами Євросоюзу нікого, хто дійсно сповідує європейські цінності. І також мені було приємно сьогодні почути повну підтримку нашими європейськими друзями з саміту миру. Я вдячний кожному лідеру, який вже підтверджує свою участь у саміті і готові дієво нам допомагати в залученні лідерів. Сьогодні я особисто у розмовах запросив на саміт президентів Молдови, Чехії та Гани, прем'єр-міністра Ірландії. Звичайно, ми з ними обговорили і двосторонній наш порядок денний. Молдова, маємо очевидні спільні виклики і допомагаємо одне одному. Чехія, я подякував за ініціативу щодо артилерії. Головне зараз повна, невідкладна реалізація ініціативи. Гана, світ залежить від стабільності і розвитку Африки. Нещодавно ми відкрили посольство в Гані. Ця країна тепер має нового акредитованого посла в Києві. Разом можемо додати більше сили нашим частинам світу. Ірландія, я подякував за підтримку нашої держави і людей, подякував за те, що Ірландія дійсно старається допомогти нам і політично, і також у захисті життя, у розмінуванні нашої землі. І така підтримка буде ще збільшуватись. Ще більшої території України буде очищено від російських мін та боєприпасів. Отже, цей день і цей тиждень додали нам ще підтримки нашим воїнам, нашій державі, нашій дипломатії і саміту миру. Щодня у дипломатичному марафоні робимо саміту миру і наближення миру реальністю. Дякую всім лідерам, які нам допомагають. Дякую кожному і кожній, хто захищає Україну і життя. Дякую всім, хто додає нам сили. Слава Україні!
And
Героям слава!
And Herom Slava. And with that, that is the end of the speech from President Volodymyr Zelensky here on day 806 of the news of the war in Ukraine. And that's going to be moving us on into that second little bit. That next little bit, that's always fun. It's like that creamy filling in the little, what are they called? Cannolis, I believe, Matthew. It's the good part. It's the part where we get to talk to all of y'all. It's an incredibly fun part of the stream for me because I get to go down rabbit holes and I have a good excuse to do it because I'm answering questions from y'all. And y'all also get a good excuse to ask me questions because it's the question segment where I get to talk to y'all. And also Matthew gets to talk to y'all too. And so we're going to be making sure to move on into that right here, right now, without any further delay. We are going to be getting to answer every single question, hopefully super chat and live chat. And with that, what do we got, Matthew?
All right, so moving into our final question segment, we are fresh out of polls to address, so we're moving right into our super chat segment, and this one is going to go to Uncovered Cube, a longtime channel legend, and he put in a $20 donation, and thank you very much, Uncovered Cube, for that support, and he says, LSA.
And LSA, and thank you so much for the support, Uncovered Cube. And I think if I'm correct, you were like the first super chat of the night tonight, weren't you, Uncovered Cube? And you were the first super chat of the night. And I got to thank you so much once again for the amazing support, Uncovered Cube. And I got to thank you for supporting our channel and helping the Lee Spring Army to keep on marching forward. each and every single one of you that supports this channel and helps us to keep this thing running, helps the Lee Spring Army to continue to be possible. Y'all help its flags to fly high around the world each and every single day, and I greatly appreciate your support in helping this channel to keep on running Uncovered Cube, because you're making this channel possible. And speaking of flags flying around the world, I like your profile picture being a flag of the Lee Spring Army. Beautiful stuff. I love to see it. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well, and we are on to the next one.
And our next super chat is going to go to Jason Carpenter, who puts in a $20 donation, and thank you very much, Jason, as well, for that very generous support. He says, the sheer idiocy that Putin tries to parallel the Soviet struggle with the Nazis and the crap he's pulling in Ukraine just shows how full of crap he is. Also, his lame parade was so empty, I saw a tumble roll by at one point.
Yeah, it was bad. I mean, it was a terrible parade. And I feel sorry for anyone who stayed up to watch that, because it was a disappointment. I hope I kind of got that across at the end of the last night's stream. It's like, don't even stay up for it. Just go to bed. It's not even going to be worth watching. And then some people really got disappointed. They got hurt because they were like, this isn't good. And I was like, I know it's not. I told y'all. But it was bad. It was terrible. And also, another thing I'd say is that... as far as, can you reread the first part, Matthew? Because for some reason, it just slipped my mind. I had it in my mind, and it just went away.
The first part said, the sheer idiocy that Putin tries to parallel the Soviet struggle with the Nazis and the crap he's pulling in Ukraine just shows how full of crap he is.
That is true, and I'd agree with that completely. Because the thing with fighting the Nazi, you know, it doesn't make any sense from the Russian perspective, because the thing about fighting Nazis and fascism is that fascism, or at least specifically Hitler's form of fascism as laid out in Mein Kampf, was specifically targeted against taking out and controlling everyone in Eastern Europe. So really conducting a mass genocide against them, really anyone who lived in Eastern Europe, and then using that land for the German people. So when they invaded Russia in 1941 in Operation Barbarossa, that was, for the large part, an invasion of the Soviet Union. So it was a defensive war on the Soviets' part. They fight that war and win it. And so then Putin invades Ukraine and says, we are like the Soviet Union of old fighting against Nazi Germany. But that means that the Soviet Union would have been the one to attack Germany first, and then Germany was the one on the defensive, because that's the war they're fighting now. It's not, there's no way that the Russians can make themselves look like the good guys preemptively invading a country when their claims are very loosely based and not even founded in reality, because there is no massacre or genocide of the Russians that is happening inside of Ukraine, because there's never been one. So it's a really stupid thing for him to even try and compare, and if anyone has common sense, and a lot of people do, they look right through it and see that's a load of bogus. And then also the other thing, the parade was terrible. I'd have to completely agree with that. And so with that, thank you so much once again for support. I hope that does address that well, and thank you so much for helping this channel to keep on running, because it is folks like you who help to make this thing possible, help us to keep this thing running, and if it wasn't for folks like you who are making this channel possible, I don't even know where in the world we would be. And so with that, thank you so much once again, and we are on to the next one.
All right, and moving into our next one here, we have one from DS, who puts in a $20 donation, and thank you very much for that support. He says, just because I absolutely love being here nightly, and thank you guys.
Hey, and I love to hear that you're happy to be here nightly. That actually makes us so freaking happy. I'm not even gonna lie, because indeed, because there are 6,100 of y'all here right now watching this live, and when you think about that, as far as filling a room, that's going to take a lot more than a room. That's going to take about an entire auditorium. Even more, hell, more than an auditorium. That would take a stadium to fit all the people who are here right now. In DS, it makes me so happy to hear that people are like, I love to be here every night, because it makes it worthwhile to run this thing every night, because a lot of people don't run it nightly, you know, and a lot of people kind of get tired of it because they don't hear people saying to them that they love to be there every night. They have people telling them, we hate being here every night. Can you do, like, you know, and people complain to these folks. And so they end up feeling a little discouraged. And I love to hear, DS, that you're happy to be here each and every night. And I got to thank you for helping to support us a little bit so that way you can make it possible to be here each and every night. Because this stream doesn't run on magic and it doesn't run on hot air. It runs entirely off of viewer support. And whether we get any viewer support is completely up to y'all, because y'all don't have to give a single cent. Y'all could just sit back, relax, and watch the show, and many people do. But if you do step forward and support the channel and help it to keep running, you can decide how much, and whether it be $1 or $500, which is what YouTube allows us the maximum cap in a 24-hour period. We are amazingly appreciative for every bit of support that people send in, just like you, DS. And I got to thank you massively for being incredibly happy to be here. That gives us a lot of spirit and gumption to keep going on with this thing. And I got to thank you for being here with us tonight and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, I hope that does address it. Also, I saw really quickly before we move on from DS to Super Chat, I see someone saying Chinese soldiers are in Ukraine. No, that is not true. There are Chinese volunteers in Ukraine, and some people were saying that they're conscripts that the Russians pushed into service. That's not true either. From what we understand, they're a lot like the Foreign Legion members in Ukraine that come from the United States. They're not officially representing the People's Republic of China. They were not forced into the military service. They actually went to Russia and they volunteered. I did see that earlier today. I just decided not to cover it because we actually covered that story months ago, because Chinese volunteers have been in Ukraine for at least 7 months now. And we've known about that on that channel since then. So that person isn't the first one to break the story. We broke it about 7 months ago. It's just that they're going to try and make it sound like it's a breaking news thing, because a clip came out today showing a Chinese volunteer speaking Chinese in Ukraine. But even then, the video is really old because it shows snow-covered fields, and there are no snow-covered fields in Ukraine, and it hasn't been that way since late February. So I'd have to be entirely honest. It's not that much of a breaking news story, and that's why we didn't cover it today, because I saw it and I was like, that's old news, and we've already covered that months ago. So with that, I hope that does address that fairly well, at least from what I know. But still, thank you so much once again for support, DS, and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next super chat is going to go to Char G, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Char G. He says, number 2 combos for the boys at In-N-Out. And he says, T1 FTC. And I'm telling you what, Char G, I haven't gotten back to an In-N-Out burger just yet. But I want one of those burgers, and I want it animal style. And I'm telling you what, I want those fries too. So good food, so much good food. And sadly, we don't have one around here, like we said before. But thank you very much for contributing to the future In-N-Out Fund. And I appreciate it very much. And Enforcer, what say you?
And I thank you for supporting the In-N-Out Fund as well. In-N-Out is something that I've heard so much about. I've heard a lot of praise on Matthew's end about In-N-Out. I have personally never had one. And I gotta say, thank you for supporting the In-N-Out Fund, because that will allow me to try an In-N-Out burger for the first time in forever. And so with that, thank you so much once again, Shargy, and thank you for being a channel legend and an old guard as well, helping this channel to keep running, because it is folks like you who helped to make this thing possible, helped to make it a reality, and I can't thank you enough for that. And so with that, thank you once again, and we are on to the next one.
And this one is going to go to Jose Diaz, the longtime channel legend, who puts in a $20 donation.
Hey!
And Jose just sadly did not leave a comment here, but he left us a super sticker and said, "You are amazing." And Jose Diaz is amazing for supporting the channel, and thank you very much, Jose. And Enforcer, what say you?
And I gotta thank Jose Diaz for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. Jose Diaz has been around here for a while. Jose Diaz is actually the commandant of the Elite Spring Army of Puerto Rico. And I got to thank you so much once again for helping this channel to keep on running and helping to make it possible. You didn't throw in a comment, but the kind words and the support is a lot. And I got to thank you greatly for that. And I got to thank you for keeping this channel running and throwing in a very kind and nice super sticker. We actually got some kind compliments today earlier on, because I was having to do some stuff for the YouTube channel side of things, the business side of things, and I ended up having to go somewhere, and Matthew and me got showered with compliments by the folks that were there. It was incredibly nice of them. Today has been a really good day, actually, as far as compliments been going, and we are more than happy to receive them. I got to thank you so much, Jose Diaz, for the support, and thank you for the kind super sticker as well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And also, by the way, I believe it was Susan Reichel said, "Do you have a picture of Mr. Corgi, please?" Now, sadly, I don't have a picture of Mr. Corgi, I don't think, right off the bat. I do have a picture of Sheba, though, and I just sent it over to the enforcer, so if he wants to show it, he can go right ahead.
Man, that's a wild picture of Sheba right there. Man, she's going, ah, just like, it's like, goodness, what's up with her? But that's little
I
baby.
can't even see it on my end, but I'll take your word for it.
It looks like the Doge. I'm not gonna lie. She's like, ah. Oh my goodness. But still, precious little Sheba. That's sweet baby Sheba. Y'all hardly see her. I think that's like one of the first pictures y'all have ever seen here on the channel of Sheba. But that is our girl Corgi. Mr. Corgi is our boy Corgi, and then we have Sheba, who's a girl Corgi. Sheba, I think, is like a year and a half younger than Mr. Corgi, but she is really sweet. We love Sheba. She's got a heart of gold, and she also beats up Mr. Corgi a lot. We watch domestic abuse live on live in person every day in between these two dogs, but we love them. And Sheba loves Mr. Corgi too. She just abuses him to keep him in a toxic relationship, I'm guessing. I don't know. But with that, I gotta say, thank you so much for the support. Thank you for wanting to see a little picture of Mr. Corgi. Sadly, we have Sheba. Well, not sadly. Luckily, we have Sheba instead, because she's also a sweet little puppy, and we absolutely love Sheba and Mr. Corgi. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that the best I can, and I don't know why the hell I'm yawning, because I had like a gallon of coffee before this stream. I'm just going through uppers and downers, you know what I mean? But anyway, still.
Jack, I need some more caffeine, Jack.
Hit me with that Quaalude. But beyond that, thank you so much once again for the support and having the channel to keep on rolling. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to the Urban Cover, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much as well, Urban Cover, for that support. He says, we love our American brothers from Albania. He said, thanks to caring people like you and your country, the world enjoys everything you guys created, including YouTube and your channel. And we thank you from Albania. And long live the LSA. And USA as well. And a shout out to Albania, by the way. And thank you very much for that support.
Huge shout out to Albania. And that was so kind of you. I thank you for that. But I gotta say this. If it wasn't for the folks down around Greece, Albania, and Macedonia, the modern Western world that America comes out of wouldn't have even existed in the first place. Every single country in the world has such a big contribution to what the world is today. Sometimes, you know, smaller than others, but nevertheless still equally important, especially the countries that are near to Greece and Italy. Those are really the foundations of what the United States would turn into in the modern day, thousands of years before the United States even existed as a concept, before the colonies even existed here in the United States. And I got to thank you for those incredibly kind words all the way from Albania. That is so cool. And it is great to know that Albania is a friend of the United States and that everyone in the Western world largely gets along with each other incredibly well and continues to really walk forward side by side, helping to improve each other's standard of life and helping to just improve the world in general. I think that is incredibly cool. And I got to thank you so much for those just overly kind words. That was incredibly kind of you. And I got to say that it's just so neat that you're from Albania, of all places. And let's go up here and look at this, man, because this is the Skodra Lake. What does this look like? Oh, wait a minute, hang on. Oh, dude, I thought that was like a whole bunch of like fields that they built out into the lake. I was like, wait a minute, what? But let's take a look at this Lake Skodra Resort. What does this look like? Pretty nice, actually. This is actually like not bad. This is really nice, actually. Look at this.
Also, by the way, I have no idea why, but I can't see your screen anymore. It's like loading permanently, but I'll let you know if it clears up.
Oh, hang on. We got it fixed for that. Hang on, we got it fixed for that. Stop streaming. Share my screen. We go to this one right here. You see it now?
Ah, there it goes.
There we go. There we go. But let's see here. Can we get down on a street view near to the lake? Can we get on the lake? Near Lake Skodra? I want to see it. All right, we'll go right here.
Ooh, that's actually pretty nice.
Dude,
the water's clear.
This is like bathtub water, and it's surrounded by mountains. I like this.
You remember that guy who's in Canada that said, we go to Banff?
Yeah, and we see unicorn. Just something like that.
It reminds me of that, like the same type area and stuff like that, sort of same thing.
Dude, this is gorgeous, though, really. I mean, like, the water is so clear, it's so blue, and then also the mountains are so nice as well. Kind of reminds me of the Lake District in northeastern England a little bit.
Why does it say go next AI up there, though? Is this real or is this AI generated?
It's goo, Matthew, not go. But let's see.
Goo.
Yeah, goo, dude. Like goo. But let's drop down here. Let's see what they got down here. So this is also from goo. So this is like some kind of like a mapping thing, I guess, that took pictures around here. But this is a village that is along the lake. And this,
oh wow.
This is really cool.
That's pretty nice. It looks like I would say Italy, but not really, but somewhat close to it.
Looks kind of like Greece a little bit to me.
Maybe so.
Maybe so. Maybe, but still, it's beautiful out here. And this is something. Wait, let's look at a little bit more of Albania, because you threw in such kind words. We gotta look at Albania more. So let's go down here to this reservoir, and let's look at what this looks like around here. Dude, this is actually a really nice place.
Yeah, it's much nicer. Like, it's really, really nice.
Let's see here. What does this town look like right here?
Kooks.
So they got a little bit of a commie aesthetic going, because it was kind of a commie place for a little bit. But let's see, they got an abandoned resort right there. But it looks like they got some.
Like where Mr. B stayed for a while when he did that little video.
I'm living in an abandoned town, but let's see. Oh wait, it looks like the reservoir is getting emptied out a good bit these days. Hopefully it's not like Lake Mead and Lake Powell out there in the out there in the west. But let's see, what else do we have? Let's see. I want to see the actual city. There's not really a lot of pictures of it. More so pictures of the surrounding lands. Dude, look at that. Wow.
That's beautiful.
That's
what
beautiful.
Is that, goats or donkeys?
I think those are mules. Maybe. But wow, this place is nice. Like, legitimately nice. And I gotta say, thank you so much for the support. And I hope you enjoyed us looking around the northern places in Albania, the northern lands of Albania, which are actually literally, like, that is right next door to Kosovo, which we actually covered on this channel a little bit before. And I gotta thank you so much once again for helping this channel to keep on running and really enjoying it and having such kind words to say, because we love to know that we have amazing folks like you all the way over in Albania that enjoy this channel, watch this show, and not only that, really like our country that we're from, the United States. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next super chat goes to 5UFO, who puts in a $10 donation and says,
Yay!
May 9th is a Rooster's Day in Russia.
What does that mean?
I don't know. Is it actually Rooster's Day, like for the male chicken?
Is it the day of the chicken of the men? It's a good question. I don't know. But I do thank you for the support, 5UFO. You're an old guard. You've been around for an incredibly long time. I know that name when I hear it. And I got to thank you so much once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running. But sadly, I just don't know what to do with that info. I don't know what to do. But still, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And we are on to the next one.
And we have another one from Khan, who puts in a 10 this time and says the Pentagon announced they are working with SpaceX in stopping Russians from buying Starlink boxes from foreign countries and then using Starlink for Russian drone guidance in Ukraine. And he says it's a start.
And I gotta say, thank you for the support. And thank you for helping this channel to keep on running. And I got to thank you for sharing that with us, Con, because I actually think I covered that a little bit earlier on in the news segment. And I got to say, thank you for making sure to double check that for us and make sure to back that up. Because I did hear that as well, and it's good to know they're going to finally be fixing it. But that's still a little concerning that it wasn't being fixed in the first place when it first started happening. But still, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And also, Matthew, I saw some 79 Vision said, this guy is the only one saying Russia is done. Everyone is saying Ukraine is in trouble. Well, guess what, buddy? Guess what? I'm not everyone else. I'll tell you that right here, right now, from me to you, 79 Vision. I'm not like everyone else. You see, because everyone else likes to repeat the trending thing. And the trending thing, like it was at the beginning of the war, is that Ukraine is finished and that they will not survive. And we, at the beginning of the war, at the very, very beginning, I said that the Ukrainians will survive, and they ended up surviving. Well, no one else believed that. We have largely gone against the grain, against most of the community that reports on this stuff, and we've usually ended up being right. Because unlike other unthinking people who run YouTube channels for clicks and AdSense money, we run it because I actually had a mission starting out. I was not monetized. I did not start this channel to become viral. This is just how it ended up. And I ended up covering the news the way I wanted to cover it. I do not care what other people say. I do not care if analysts disagree with me. Because I don't really care what they say, because they're mostly wrong. And on top of that, I have my own opinions, and I don't have to work off of anyone else's opinion, 79 Vision, if you see what I'm saying. If you see what I mean. So, going off of that, that's all I gotta say. I mean, you know, I don't have to defend myself because everyone else is saying the Ukrainians are doomed. They'll all be wrong, and I'll still be sitting here laughing my ass off in about 8 months when this is almost all over, and then everyone will be coming up and going, he's still a young jackass, and that's what people will be saying, and I will still be here. And so with that, I hope that does address that well. Put an LSA in the chat, and with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, in our next one here is going to go to a longtime legend as well, Margaret Hemsley, who puts in a $15 donation. And Margaret says, just dropping in some love from the first Aussie couple, and hubby is in the hospital for an operation. And also, Margaret, I hope he's going to be okay. And Margaret says, coming home today, and look up Lake Hiller, a pink lake off of Esperance, and if time, grab a live chat question.
And we, of course, will have time for that, Margaret Hemsley. And also, I hope things are going well, and I hope that your husband gets through that operation fine, because there's been a lot of people that have actually been going through operations lately. And I hope that he's going to be okay, like Nick's still thinking is apparently from what I've been hearing from Carrie Ann. And also, thank you so much once again for sharing that with us. And of course, the Lee Spring Army is going to be wishing you and your husband the best. We hope that he has a speedy recovery from the operation and that things are just fine. And also, we did find Lake Hillier right here near Goose Island. Well, actually, this island's called Middle Island, a very creative name. But let's take a look at this lake. It is literally pink. Like, it's just...
goodness, man. It's actually pink. Also, I saw in the description it said it gets its color from a unique organism. Man, you got probably some deadly bacteria or something in this lake. It's like very unique indeed.
Dude, the Russians go, quick, scoop this shit up and put it in some tea. Like, we gotta poison people. Like, this is crazy looking though. That is the pinkest pink I've ever seen naturally in the wild. That's not a flower. Look at
it looks like a big lake of like penicillin, like that medicine they give you in that bottle, like from way back in the day. It's
that
like a big lake
cough syrup crap. Yeah, it's like that. Dude, this is whack. Let's look at this video of it. No, we're not. Scott Kyber. That's like to change that. We're not looking at that. But look at this. No. No. Every video's apparently got copyrighted music in it. Hell no. But everyone loves to get the contrast of the blue and the pink, but that is just so cool. That is really neat. What actually makes it like that? Lake Hillier.
It's that unique organism.
Let's see. It's about 600 feet in length, about 820 feet in width. The lake is surrounded by a rim of sand and a dense woodland of paperbark and eucalyptus trees, with a narrow strip of sand dunes covered by vegetation and separating its northern edge from the northern coast of the Middle Island. The most notable feature of the lake is its pink, vibrant color. The vibrant color is permanent and does not alter when the water is taken in a container. The pink color is believed to be due to the presence of the organism Dunalia Alliella salina. The Extreme Microbiome Project, part of the Association of Biomolecular Resources Facilities, metagenomics research group, has performed a metagenomic analysis on the lake to find Dunaliella, as well as Solanini Bacter ruber, and something else. But let's go see what the hell this thing is. So, this is what apparently gives the lake its color. It is a type of halophile unicellular green algae, especially found in hypersaline environments, such as salt lakes and salt evaporation ponds. So apparently, this lake is extremely salty, a lot like the hot dog man, and for this reason, it gets its pink color.
Is it dangerous though? Like, is it? I see some guys standing in it right there, but are you supposed to get in it or like stay out of it?
No, those guys aren't. Those guys aren't in that lake because you can see that that's like a desert out there in the distance. That might be in like maybe like southern Egypt or Ethiopia or something, maybe, but that's not Lake Hillier. But beyond that, like this one isn't Lake Hillier either. This one is though, but this isn't either. But going off of that, I would assume that it'd be safe. Let's see. Let's go back to the lake. Let's see. Use. Let's see.
There's safety and accessibility if you scroll on further down.
Despite the high salt content levels, Lake Hillier is safe to swim in. However, it's not advisable nor allowed without previous approval by the Western Australia Department of Environment Conservation. There are
that sounds real promising. It's safe to swim in, but you gotta get approval to get in it. It's like, I don't know about that. I'm not getting in it.
Let's see. There are very few ways to reach the lake, with 6 flights a day departing Esperance Airport, flying over Lake Hillier via the nearby Cape Le Grand National Park. Cruises are also an option for passengers wanting to visit the isolated lake and surrounding forest area. It doesn't say anything about the water being drinkable, and usually water in its natural form is actually undrinkable, so I'm assuming that you could not drink this water, but you can swim in it. So that is something to work off of. If y'all ever wanted to swim in a pink lake, you could possibly do it. It's so with that. And someone said it's not drinkable. It's like, I would assume so. I would not drink pink water. Like, I'd be like, huh? Like, is this supposed to be like a Valentine's Day? Just like, I don't know. It's maybe poison. But still, really cool. And I gotta thank you for sharing that with us, Margaret Hemsley, and letting us look at this pink lake. It's literally pink. And if you want to know something really cool, if you want to know something really, really neat, something special that no one else knows, here in Alabama, in the beautiful state of Alabama, in the city of Birmingham, our water causes kidney stones. A lot of them, actually. And what's interesting about that is that Birmingham, Alabama, is largely on a pretty big lime deposit. Because back in the day, way back in the day, just south of Birmingham was actually where the continent of North America ended. The ocean started just south of Birmingham, Alabama. And for that reason, there's a huge amount of marble, which is calcium bicarbonate, and also limestone deposits that exist through this area of Alabama. You can actually see them being mined near Sylacauga in Gant's Quarry, and you can also see limestone being mined over here in the area around Pelham, or really Alabaster more so. But you can see the lime being mined out here. And because of that, our groundwater, and also you see the flash flood warning that we're currently under, but but the groundwater here in Birmingham has a lot of lime inside of it. You can actually taste it a little bit when you drink the water here. And what's so interesting about that is that it actually does create a higher risk of producing kidney stones. It's not as interesting as the lake per se, but it's something really interesting about water, because you would never believe that just mineral deposits could just be in tap water, and there's really no way to get them out. And so if you ever come to Birmingham, Alabama, and you taste the water and it tastes a little bit weird, it's because it has limestone in it. And when I say lime, I don't mean like lime in like it's almost like toxic form. I mean like quick lime or something like that. Not like that. It's just limestone that is pretty much broken up and inside the water in particulate amounts. So
it tastes a lot like Sprite already. It's already got lime in it. It's just missing the lemon.
Man, oh, eat like snake. Anyway, no. Put a little lime and add some time. You remember that clip, Matthew?
I vaguely do.
Where the hell did that one go? Anyways, like, where the hell did it go? Like, I want to know about that clip and where it wound up. But still, thank you so much once again for the support, Margaret Hemsley, and helping this channel keep it running. I hope we were able to share a cool fun fact about water ourselves from the great state of Alabama. And also, another cool thing that y'all may not know about Alabama is that we actually have some of the largest amount of freshwater reserves anywhere in the United States, which is actually kind of cool. You wouldn't think that Alabama would be the one, but we actually are. I think we're like in the top 5. Or something like that. And also, Alabama, like now I'm going down all the cool fun facts about Alabama. Alabama actually has, I believe, the largest lumber industry compared to any other state in the country. Let me make sure to double check that one, though. Largest lumber state in U.S.? Let me check. So actually, it's Oregon? I was told in school it was actually Alabama. Let me check this. Hold up.
Oh man, fake news. Call them out.
Call them out. So Alabama is in the top 10. And Alabama is actually the third largest lumber producing state in the entirety of the United States, behind Oregon and Washington. So it's on up there, actually, which is really wild. It's really cool. Because if y'all also didn't know this, back in the 1910s and the 1920s, Alabama was almost practically deforested. The only original forest in Alabama is the Bankhead National Forest, which is right here. This is the only original untouched forest left in Alabama. Before that, in the late 1800s, the entire state was pretty much stripped of forests. So there were no forests in Alabama. All of this was replanted under the FDR administration in the 1930s, and that's why Alabama has so many forests today, and that's also why the timber industry is so big in Alabama as well, because most of it is commercial timber, which is also a really cool fact as well. But with that, and then, you know, another cool fun fact just to share with y'all, because I can't leave without sharing another one, because now we're on it, and I might as well tell y'all a little bit more about it. Alabama's largest lumber product is pine. And pine is actually highly sought after throughout most of the world. So we actually export a lot of our pine wood that we cut down in process here in Alabama to Europe, and also to Asia as well. Hardly any of it stays in the United States. It's mostly all cut up for export, which is also really cool. So if you're a European or Asian viewer on this channel, there is a chance that the building you're in, if it's a fairly new one from about the 1970s onwards, may actually have an Alabama pine board inside of it somewhere. You just will never know, because they, you know, don't really catalog that stuff, but still kind of cool. But anyways, with that, and also Barry Woodward's correct, it is the cheapest, and also pine is one of the fastest growing timbers out there in the world. So you can get a lot of board feet out of every single acre that you have that's a pine forest. So it's a huge moneymaker for Alabama. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that incredibly well. And we are on to the next one. But thank you once again for support, Margaret Hemsley.
Yes, indeed. And our next one here goes to Richard Hawkins, who puts in a $25 donation. And thank you very much, Richard, for your support as well. He says, what is the status of a future LSA car flag or Enforcer for President car flag?
Good question, Richard Hawkins. We're saving the Enforcer for President one for the political campaigns coming in the future. So that one is on standby. It's just going to be a good ways down the road, maybe several more years, because I will finally be 25 in 2025, I believe. And so then I'll have to wait for the next election cycle to come around, and I'm probably going to already start trying to vie for the seat of the representative of my district in Alabama. I don't really know how that will go, you know, because I don't really know if I'm that if I'm that popular enough to maybe uproot someone from their seat that they currently have at the moment and then take it from them. That's highly unlikely, to be quite honest, but we could still give it a shot. And so that is going to be saved for then. But as far as an LSA car flag goes, that is a pretty cool idea. We haven't thought about that one, but we might actually come up with that here soon. But on the bright side, we already have something big coming around the corner for all of y'all in our next merch run. We've actually been able to get the entire thing ironed out, and it's going to be sick. Like, we cannot wait for y'all to see it, and we cannot wait for y'all to be able to get it. And I'm actually, you know what, actually, I'm going to go ahead and drop the huge fact tonight about what it is to get y'all ready for it. The Enforcer channel has teamed... Matthew, you know what? Give them the spiel. Give them the spiel on who we teamed up with and the whole bag, because you know everything about it.
I would give them the whole spiel right now, but we haven't signed the contract yet, so I wouldn't give the whole spiel just yet. So I would actually hold off on it.
We are going to hold off on that spiel. And so that... I can't wait for y'all to see it, though, because it's going to be incredibly cool, and I'm just over the moon about getting to get this out to y'all, because y'all are going to love this. And also, I hope that kind of just address it well. It won't be this month, but it might be several months in the future. We might make an LSA car flag, and also we are going to re-release the LSA flags. It's just that they're not going to be autographed anymore in the future. And so with that, thank you so much once again for your 5th support ever to this channel, Richard Hawkins, and helping this channel to keep on running. We are greatly thankful and greatly appreciative for your support, because you're helping this channel to keep on running. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. In our next one here goes to Heather Fitzgibbon, LSA, another channel legend who puts in a 10 and does not leave a comment. But I saw Heather Fitzgibbon say, so much for that. And so much for that. I'm telling you what, we got to sign on those dotted lines first. We'll get everybody too hyped up because there's always a chance that something could go wrong. But with that, Enforcer, what say you?
And I got to thank you so much for the support, Heather Fitzgibbon. Thank you for always helping this channel. Thank you for supporting this channel and making it a reality. And of course, so much for that. For now, at least. We'll get back to it after the contract sign. But I'm over the moon about it because we were actually able to get it all sorted out for the large part. And now it's just kind of on to its final phase. But with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Alan Kinney, who puts in the 10 and says the driver of the Moscow parade tank, Omar Bolshevich, ordered the Bucha murders of civilians. And also, Alan, did you see they actually had the war criminals sitting behind Putin while he was giving a speech today as well? They actually went through a lot of trouble to exhibit those guys, the ones who committed the war crimes, right there in the middle of the parade. It was kind of sick to see. But Enforcer, what say you?
Yeah, it was sick to see, and you're right. That was actually the guy who was in the T-34E5, from what I know. And it's really sick to think that the Russians know about the war crimes that they commit, and they're actually proud of them, because they actually did select the specific commanders that carried out some of the worst atrocities of the war to be on display either in the T-34E5 or sitting directly behind Putin in seats of honor, which shows how proud the Russians really are of the kind of crimes they commit against the Ukrainian people. Also showing that this is a bit of a war that's I guess you could say supportive of genocide on the Russians' end, and really sickening to think about. But I do thank you for the support and pointing that out, because that is entirely true, and I forgot to mention that earlier, but thank you once again for bringing that up. Thank you for supporting this channel and helping to make this thing possible. And so with that, we are on to the next one, but thank you greatly once again for sharing that important tidbit.
Yes, indeed. And our next one here goes to George Tincher, who puts in a 10 and says there once was a man from Madras whose balls were made out of brass. When they clanged together, they played stormy weather, and lightning shot straight out of the arse.
Dang.
I don't even know what that means, but it sounds interesting.
There once was a man from Nantucket. Oh man, we're not even moving further on that one. But still, I gotta say this, and you know what I'm about to say. Thank you for the support. It's a little weird, yeah, but that's kind of normal. And I gotta say, we greatly appreciate your support, George Tincha, and throwing in a nice little poem right there, because we appreciate it. We appreciate it greatly. And so with that, thank you so much once again for support. Thank you for throwing in a good poem. And thank you once again for helping this channel to keep on running and helping it to be possible. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to be here right now, listening to these interesting poems. And so with that, thank you once again, and we are on to the next one.
All right, and the next one goes to Andy L., who puts in a $10 donation. And thank you very much, Andy, for that support. He says, will Putin surrender or die by the sword? And on this answer to this one, I got to say, I think Putin is going to probably be there until either the West or maybe some insiders can get close enough to his inner circle to actually do something. Other than that, I don't think Putin is really going anywhere. So until someone's able to infiltrate the inner circle, it's pretty much over for trying to get rid of Putin, in my opinion. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say that Putin is most likely going to die by the sword, because I mean, it's just not going to happen, in my honest opinion. I don't think he's ever going to surrender the position, because no one in his position before, like Stalin, surrendered the position with that kind of disposition. I have a feeling that he will probably end up having to be killed in a coup d'etat. Like, the coup d'etat will happen, he'll be overthrown, and then they'll conduct a mock trial and then execute him as the end result of that mock trial. And so with that, I thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running and asking one of those tough questions. And I gotta say, we are greatly appreciative of a good tough question like that, because there's no real clear answer to it, but I hope I was able to at least weigh in my 2 cents and my opinion on it. And so with that, thank you so much once again, and we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Blue Flam 777 LSA, and he put in a 10. And he was throwing in the absolute fire jokes once again tonight in the live chat. I've seen them all night long. I'm telling you what, not a single one has slipped by me. And he said, what do we want? Low-flying airplane noises. When do we want it? Now. Question to the chat.
But still, thank you for the support, Blue Flame 777. I hope that addressed that well. That because that's the one I usually do on air, and I got to thank you so much once again for the support, Blue Flame 777, and helping this channel to keep on running. And we will make sure to send the question to the chat. And so, of course, I have to say this. Thank you, Blue Flame 777, for being an old guard of the channel. Thank you for putting LC in your name. I always love to see that. And also, thank you for also being the comedic relief of this channel, because it's always been appreciated, and we always like it. And also, you come in with the straight-up heat. I mean, it is like raw heaters being thrown out around here. It's like, you want some heat? It's yours, my friend. And I gotta say that I would, out of the history of this channel and everyone who has come in throwing in super chats with jokes, I would have to say that yours so far have actually been the funniest, in my opinion. Like, I actually get truly throttled by some of the jokes. I'll be like, whoa! I'll be like, oh my god! And they're really good too. And so with that, let's get a question from the live chat, Matthew. What do we got?
So the question from the live chat, honored by Blue Flam 777, goes to Winds Aloft, who says, why do Russians always leave their armored hatches open for the drones?
Because they've abandoned the tank, and there's really no way to lock the hatches, and also, usually they're never thinking about closing them when they're abandoning the vehicle. They just hop out and run away, so the hatches are always left open because the crew isn't there, and they've run off, never to close them again. So then it's just free pickings for the Ukrainians. They get to go around and just blow them up at will. And so with that, I hope that does address that the best I can, and I thank you so much once again, Blue Flam 777, for sponsoring that live chat and helping us to keep this thing running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one is going to go to Jason Curling, who puts in a 6 and says, do you think destroying all oil refineries could cause a global recession?
I don't think so. In Russia, well, it could certainly cause gas prices to rise, but once the Russians collapse, they wouldn't be able to afford the gas. The gas prices would stabilize again. So that's what I would largely have to say about that. It wouldn't cause a recession, but it'd certainly cause higher gas prices, especially if you're importing gases from around the world. But it wouldn't be that much of an effect to cause a recession. Recessions are usually caused by bigger economic action, like the housing crisis of, the housing bubble collapse of 2008, which was a larger and more interconnected economic issue here in the United States. And it also ended up affecting the European Union and many other Western countries equally as well. But that was much more tied into the Western economy than just simply one product like gas. And on top of that, if gas prices increase, the oil companies will be making more money, and that's a huge boom for the United States, because we have some of the largest oil companies in the world here in the United States. And so with that, I hope that does address that the best I can. Thank you so much once again, and we are on to the next one.
And we have one from Butchie777, the longtime channel legend as well, who puts in a 10 and says, take a succulent live chat question. That is all, and love you guys, and Shoigo!
And Shoigo! And also, we love you too, Butchie777. We love the entire LSA. And I gotta say, we will make sure to take a succulent live chat. But thank you so much once again for your kindness and your support and helping this channel to keep on running, because it is folks like you who help to make this thing a reality. And so with that, Matthew, what do we got for the live chat?
All right, and Butchie sponsored a live chat, which is going to go to Susan Reichel, who says, people need to realize that the U.S. has created more jobs with military contracts, and the U.S. contractors will be making lots of money helping to rebuild Ukraine. And what are your thoughts?
I would agree. It's certainly true. I mean, really everything becomes a job opportunity here in the United States. Anything is a job opportunity. As long as it keeps people busy and it requires people to work, it makes money. And so it's a huge benefit for the United States. And that's one thing that a lot of people don't get. And that's also, some people don't really get a lot about what's going on with Ukraine and how we support them and stuff. it ends up being a huge boom for the United States. I know specifically here in Alabama that the facilities down in Troy, which are the small little town right down here in Alabama, right in here, this is actually where the Javelin missile launchers, the Javelin computer systems are made by Texas Instruments. They're actually made inside of Troy. And this town has ended up getting a good deal of money because they've been manufacturing so many new ones. And it's been like that everywhere in the United States. It's a huge benefit. I would completely agree with you on that. And I would really agree with that on anything. As long as you were trying to push people, my young blood, to continue to support... yeah, just young blood, Alabama. But as long as you're continuing to support people working and trying to come up with some sort of a product and people are buying it somewhere, it is good to do that in any kind of a category, any kind of sort that you can imagine, whether it be weapons, whether it be oil, whether it just be general consumer goods. If people are buying it and there is room to employ people in that industry to produce more of those goods, more money and more progress, more success really is to be made. And so with that, I certainly agree with you on that. And I thank you so much once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running, because young blood need more. And with that, we are on to the next one. Man, he's probably like, what the hell? But there's young blood.
Like, what?
There's young blood over here next to Troy, man. You see young blood right there, and then there's a town called Need More. So I said, young blood need more. And then I was like, and we're on to the next one. But man,
and there's Ebenezer Baptist Church over there. I guess Scrooge found his way to the church finally.
Wait, where?
See Ebenezer Baptist Church over there on the right.
Man, they put that in all caps. Like, man,
Ebenezer Scrooge.
Dude, Ebenezer was an asshole, though, man, because that guy was like, man, my child, he's a cripple, and he's starving. He was like, let him starve. It's like, damn, dude, it's like, you're brutal. But let's see.
I'm just saying, I've never heard of anybody called Ebenezer in my entire life except for Ebenezer Scrooge. Like, I've never heard that name on anybody.
Me either. Also, what other, let's see here, what else do we have? We have Karma Farms. That's where the Russians go to grow the karma that strikes them back. We also got I Am Tashin beauty bundles. This place is kind of a trip. Let's see. Hang on. Well, let's get back towards Troy. So, Sikorsky Aircraft. Hold up.
What?
What? Sikorsky's in Troy and Lockheed Martin. Wow,
it's a Lockheed Martin company.
Oh, it's like Johnson & Johnson, a family company. But yeah, they're here. That's wild. I didn't even know that.
Oh, wait. I think I've been by here before. I think.
Why?
Just on a little trip down there, probably going to court.
Oh, wow. That's what I mean. Wow. But let's see here. What else do we have? We have Bear Sank Produce Farms. What's in it? Game processing. By the way, just for those of y'all who don't know, game is what animals are called when they get shot. You know, well, that's really just any animal that's edible, kind of for the most part, like deer. They're called game. And so this is the place that you bring your carcasses to be processed into like edible food. So that's what that is. It's not like a video game or anything like that. Because when I read that, it crossed my mind. I was like, video game. I was like, wait a minute, I might need to like address that because some people might be like me. Also, Green Hills Funeral Home, Good Hope Baptist Church, Spring Creek Farm, Good Times on 29. What the hell is that? I mean, we gotta. Oh, it's okay. It's nothing that big. Pioneer Museum of Alabama. Since when did? Oh wait. Oh yeah. We've driven past this so many times. Like so many. You've seen this, right, Matthew? Like we've driven past this a million times.
Oh yeah, I remember those. So I remember this very vividly.
Man, and then you drive past Troy. Where the hell's that Subway where we ended up getting that shitty sandwich? Like, you remember that? It was around Troy somewhere.
I don't think it was here.
Where in the world was that even?
That was way a different part in the state.
Man, I can't even remember where that was. Maybe down near Dothan?
It could be.
Man, shit, I wouldn't know. Like, I would have to be a good man to know that one. You know what I mean? Anyways, but enough with the corny jokes on Alabama town names. It is time for us to get on to the next one. But thank you once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running.
Yes, indeed. And up next, huge shout out to Nick LSA. He put in a $5 donation and did not leave a comment, But Nick is back, and apparently he's doing pretty good because he's back to chatting once more, and it's good to see you once again, Nick. And Enforcer, what say you?
And welcome back, Nick. We're glad to hear that you're all right and you've recovered from your surgery, and it's good to know that you're back in the chat. And I gotta thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this channel possible. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well, and we are on to the next one.
And up next, huge shout out to Brian Woodhouse, who put in the 2, along with Gumby S, who also put in the 2, and they did not leave comments. But thank you very much, Brian and Gumby, very much for helping to keep the channel running and supporting our work, and we appreciate it very much. And we also have, guess what, the regular from CK Bold, and he put in a 5 to take a live chat question. And the traditional number 5 is coming right up for CK Bold, and the live chat question goes to Jose Berta, who says, Enforcer, how many oil depots or refineries have been damaged in Russia?
From what we understand, at the peak, nearly, I think, 15 to 17% of them have been damaged and destroyed at any one given time. It doesn't sound like a large number, only 15 to 17%, but that makes the Russians suffer an oil deficit of around 600 to 700,000 barrels of refined fuel products per day, given their current rate of consumption. So going off of that, it's actually a very large amount that they have knocked out so far. They don't have to knock out all of them, they just have to knock out some of them, and that will cause massive damage like we're already seeing right now. And so with that, thank you so much for sponsoring that live chat, CK Bold, and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Epic Trains Canada, who puts in a 5 and says, which number is bigger, the number of Russian soldiers unalived or the number of bots banned on the channel, Igor and Slava Ukraine? I'm telling you what, the number of bots banned on this channel is pretty steep. I don't have the exact number, but it's got to be somewhere in the tens of thousands at the point. It's a lot. But Enforcer, what say you?
And Igor! And I think the number of bots banned on this channel is probably as high as the Russian death count in Ukraine. Because Matthew has banned, I think, several dozen bots a night for 800. Well, actually, it would still be, yeah, it actually would be really close, I think. It actually would be maybe half of all the Russians dead in Ukraine have ended up being banned on this channel. So a pretty good amount of them, I would assume. And so with that, thank you so much for the support, Epic Trains Canada. And a good question. I like that question. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Seb SK, who puts in a 5. And he says, Blam Bagan is my favorite city name. It's in Indonesia. It was a kingdom. And now I have to make a limerick of it next time I join.
Let's see. I put in, is it like Blam, like B-L-A-M?
It's Blam and then Bang, A-N.
I found it. Yuck. Where is this in Indonesia? This is down on the special region of Yogyakarta. So we got that Yogyakarta up in here, and this is the place, Blambangan, and this is it. This is the place. And we're gonna go look at the bigger town next door. There's a lot of boats out here, but we got to look at this town. What does this town look like? Let me drop down there. Looks like Vietnam.
Vietnam. It does kind of look like Vietnam, really. I want some of that bakso or whatever that was right there in that cart.
Man, I want some of that token listric.
Pulsa. That's what you do when you check if somebody's okay. You check their pulsa.
Man, I want some of that Kebutuhan Pakok Lanyan, or Lanyana, or that Sembako, or let's see, that Termita Gadai, or maybe even better yet, the fine, move me forward, damn it! Let's see, that fine, delicious Munkar. PD Gadai Masjatim. And so, gotta say, one hell of a place right here. And it appears to me that we need some more Cap'n Munkar up in our lives. You know what I mean? But still, I feel like right now, Matthew, I feel like Boris Johnson when he was like, Happy Choco Mayo, or something like that. It's like, I feel like that trying to read.
Would you like a nice blue passport? A blue passport.
They don't want to scrutinize me, you great supine protoplasmic invertebrate jellies. But still, with that, while my throat almost exploded for some reason when I did that, I have no idea why. We are going to be moving on to the next. But thank you so much for sharing that fun little fact with us of the town of Blambegan. But thank you once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and the next one is going to go to LSA Sergeant Figment, who puts in a 2 and says, LSA, hit the like button. That's an order.
Hey, and thank you so much for supporting. Hit that damn like button. Hit it. Because it does help out this channel in reaching more people. And we've already hit nearly 2,700 likes, and we'd like to hit a couple of more. And so with that, thank you so much once again for the support, and thank you for helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we're on to the... Oh, by the way, I just wanted to share this with y'all, a quick little tidbit. We are 30 subscribers away from 212,000 subscribers.
Oh!
We are just right there. And if y'all just want, you know, as a courtesy, to hit that like button and to just share, you know, maybe share this with other people, or hit the subscribe button yourself. You can end up being the 212,000 subscriber. I'm not promising you, but the chances are high. And so with that,
and also, if you don't feel like subscribing, you could just be a sympathy subscriber and subscribe out of sympathy. Just right over that mark.
Yeah, you could do that. But with that, I hope that does address that well, and we are on to the next one.
All right. So with that, we are fresh out of Super Chats, no cap. And we are going to be moving into our live chat questions. But before we get to our live chat questions, I'm seeing people requesting something that's become a bit of a custom here on this channel, a bit of a regular, a bit of a, what you call a tradition. We need to bring out that marmot. Bring him out.
We're bringing him out. He's coming out. Hey, it's the marmot. Hey.
Hello.
Oh, hello there. Would you like a plum, or would you like a succulent rock? Each one a fiver for each of them. What's the fly got to say?
Oh, man, I want them to come here for me. Show them, Marmot.
You'll do what you're told.
No, better yet, better. All right, who wants a rock and plum? Fiver for both. Oh man, maybe there'll be a world where my audience isn't here for the content I cover, like on every other channel. They'll just be here for me.
You'll do what you're told.
You'll do what you're told, you like it, Governor. Now get back to making shitty content. But anyways... Oh man, we love the marmot. We love the fly. Well, we don't really love the fly, but we love the marmot. We love Alan the marmot. It is a great marsupial. This thing allows us to vent so much on air. And what are the charges? Eating a meal? A succulent marmot meal? How
Get
dare
your
you,
hands
sir?
off my...
Get your hands off my weenus!
And you, sir, are you there to receive?
and oh yes, I see you know your judo well. Good one. And you, sir, are you ready to receive my limp weenus? How dare you, sir? It's like, man, that whole entire video was a trip. And then later on, like literally it was like 6 months ago, they did an interview with that guy. They found him and they said, "Did they really touch you?" And he went, "No, but I was getting arrested. I was going to say whatever I wanted to." So that guy said all that, and it didn't even happen. Like, no one even touched him like that. But beyond that...
Man, you could tell in the moment, people thought he was a nut. They couldn't tell what was going on. And also the way he was acting made you think he was somewhat guilty. It's like he was acting like a loon.
Well, you did have a couple of glasses of the grape sherry. You know, he said that in the interview. Man, you remember that? He was like, and we were a little bit tipsy. But that guy's a character. I'm not gonna lie. He shouldn't have been arrested just because he was a character, you know. But beyond that, he's a devil for the drink, Kathleen. He's a devil for the drink. But beyond that, we absolutely love the marmot. And I gotta say this: have you filed your taxes, Governor? Have you? Or better yet, this one's starting to come into fashion a little bit. Oi! What you doing? What you doing, Professor? What's going on right here? That one might start getting a little bit common. We don't know. We'll have to see. But anyways, with that, I gotta say, thank you so much once again for the support. And helping this channel to keep on running, everyone. We've already moved out of the Super Chat segment, but I thought I had to thank you for that, because I did see Marmot Fan throw in a $1 Super Chat, most likely in recognition of the fact we were showing a Marmot. And also, Blue Flame 777 threw in another Super Chat as well in the middle of our Marmot segment. And so we're going to be moving on from the Marmot back into the 2 Super Chats we got from Marmot Fan and Blue Flame, and then we're going to be moving on into the live chat. So Matthew, what do we got?
And shout out to Marmot Fan who put in that $1 donation. And thank you very much, Marmot Fan, for letting us know that you love that Marmot. I'm telling you what, that Marmot is loved by many. And also, we had a 10 from Blue Flame 777 LOSA who said, what's the leading cause of dry skin? Towels.
That's actually kind of true.
Hey, that's pretty good.
That's actually kind of true when you think about it philosophically. But
That's
still,
just facts.
I gotta thank you for the support, Blue Flame 777. That is the most dad joke I've heard all week. And I appreciate that, Blue Flame. That wasn't the straight fire that you usually bring into the jokes where I'm actually, like, floored from them. But that is still good. I like that. That was a good one. And so with that, thank you so much once again for support. I hope that does address that well. It's the both of you. And thank you, Marmot Fan, once again for your support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, I think we're on to the Morse code decoders of the stream.
All right. And also, by the way, I'm not sure if I missed it earlier or what, but I don't have it in the spreadsheet. So if the Morse code decoders are here, or Enforcer, if you know it, you can go right for it.
That's the sound of money, because no jackpot was hit, and we get to keep it. So, with that, I hope that does address that well. I did see, I think David Millsaps in the first 10 minutes of the stream, but I don't know if I saw a decoding. But I know the Morse code decoders are here. Maybe we just missed it. But with that, we are on to the live chats.
All right. And our first live chat question is going to go to Coitus, who says, did you know that the government is developing a 6th generation fighter and already starting on the 7th gen already?
I've heard about 6th gen. I have not heard about 7th gen. 7th gen is probably something that's only on paper. It's probably not even in an actual prototyping phase at the moment. But I have heard about the possibility of a 6th generation fighter coming around the corner, which would be wild because we just kind of came out with 5th gen not that long ago. And now we're already moving on to 6th gen. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that whack?
Like an Apple computer. They come out with the M3 and then they come out with the M4 6 months later.
Man, the M5 computer. Man, you know that guy in Star Trek. The M5.
You're not going to take away M5 from me. You're not going to take away my life's work. And then he has a meltdown.
Hey, this man is not well. The M5 is a wonderful computer. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that the best I can. And with that, we're on to the next one.
In our next one goes to Mr. Tibbs and Mr. Diggs, who says, why do we never hear about Hungary? What are they doing? And Mr. Tibbs, we do hear about Hungary from time to time. We hear about them a little bit, but not too much. So I understand where you're coming from. But Enforcer, what say you?
I understand where you're coming from, Mr. Tibbs and Mr. Diggs. We don't hear about Hungary a lot on this channel, but we do hear about how hungry I am a lot on this channel. But sometimes, every once in a while, people just talk about how they wish that they just wish that you know, maybe Buddha wasn't a pest. Budapest. Well, I'm trying to figure out a way to make puns here. But the reason why y'all don't hear about Hungary a lot on this channel is because there isn't really a lot on the daily goings-on with Hungary that requires us to talk about it, rather than trying to drum up hatred against them. And, you know, they do what they do. They're kind of a little weird at the moment, but there's really no point in focalizing on it and really talking about it a great deal, because it wouldn't really do anything beneficial. And so with that, I hope that does address that fairly well, at least in my opinion. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Aaron Hubert, who says, what do you think is the likelihood of nuclear conflict within the next 5 to 10 years? It's an important question, he says.
It is an important question. I would say that nuclear conflict is as likely within the next 5 to 10 years as it was over the entirety of the Cold War. Probably highly unlikely, if not never going to happen. Nuclear warfare is the most dangerous kind of warfare that we currently have in existence. Everyone has been reluctant to use it for nearly 70 years now, and I don't think anyone's going to be really gung-ho to use it even in the future, because the simple fact of the matter is it will most likely be the end of the world. So, I hope that does address that fairly well, at least in my opinion. And I thank you so much once again for asking a really good question. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one is actually a super chat, and this one goes to Wubba, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Wubba, for that support. He says, I'm sorry I've been slacking this week, working disaster response for the tornadoes around the country. And I'm telling you what, that's the best thing you could do if you're slacking, is helping out with a disaster response. I'm telling you what, good on you, Wubba. And he says, hope you guys escaped the mayhem. And we did, thankfully. We escaped the mayhem. I think the only tornadoes in Alabama, I think, was Huntsville yesterday. Not that Huntsville doesn't matter or anything like that, but it didn't hit Birmingham, so that's a blessing. But the tornadoes around the country are getting bad. They're very large these days. They're really, honestly, quite scary ones that are coming around. I've never seen them this large, but it's very good that you're helping out, Wubba. And also, thank you very much for the support. And Enforcer, what say you?
And I gotta say, Wubba, if that was the reason you were slacking off, you weren't slacking off. You were doing exactly what I would wish that everyone in the LSA would do, which is to help out and help to benefit the nation in some way through some sort of a public service. That is incredible to hear that you've been doing that. And I hope that you've been making lots of progress and lots of leeway as you've been out there working in the fields, helping out with tornado relief or disaster response. Because Matthew and me actually helped out with that in our past life when we were in high school, because our hometown that we were in actually got hit by an F3. And so we actually spent the 2 days that they allowed volunteers into the town to help clean up. We actually spent both 2 days from sun up to sundown helping out there, which was...
We actually pulled together all the JOTC kids, because at the time I was in charge, so I was like, hey, let's pull up some kids. So we did, and then we all went out there and helped.
Remember that goofy goofball that wanted to make care packages?
I don't think so.
Oh my! Remember when that was like a whole argument, man? I remember like we were like, man, we need to go down there and help, and then someone said, no, I think we ought to make care packages instead, and we were like, what the hell do you mean? It's like literally like right down the street from the school. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. I was just like, I just want to go out there and actually get hands-on and actually help. Like, I don't want to sit over here and like put together some sanitizer and a kit. I'm like, I just want to get out there and like pick the rubble off of people's houses instead of just sending a box.
Yeah, so we actually went out there into the city with a couple of folks, well, the town, and we ended up cleaning it up a great deal. And it was actually really crazy because by the time when we got there, the tornado had just come through, I think the day before that, and it was a actual mess. Trees were down everywhere. Houses had been completely pretty much destroyed. And so we started cleaning up, and by the last day, which was Sunday late afternoon, the entire place had been cleaned up. Every tree had been cut up that had fallen. Every single house had all of the debris piled up into nice little groups. It was a lot of work too. I mean, it was like endless work all day, but the food was great. I mean, they had some great people out there serving up food for everyone that was helping out. And on top of that, it was really nice to do something like that. And so, Wubba, I bet your work is either like that or even a lot more important than that. And I hope that you've been having a very good time doing that, because it's one of the nicest things that you can do, and it also helps out the nation each time people do that and band together to do something like that. And we did escape the mayhem, luckily. We didn't escape the little thing that happened, though, because if we go over here to the area around Birmingham, y'all will see that there is a flash flood warning right now, pretty much where we're at. So that was crazy. We were getting ready for the stream, and there was so much lightning going on outside, and it was so close and so loud. It actually sounded like artillery in Ukraine. It was that crazy. And so luckily, nothing happened. Flash flood, normal stuff. Run-of-the-mill thing. It happens all the time. So largely, we got out of it just fine. We didn't have any problems at all. And so with that, thank you greatly once again for support, and I hope that you've been out there doing amazing work, Wubba, because I love to hear that that's the reason why you haven't been here on the stream. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one here goes to Arthur, who says, what do you boys think about the U.S. turning its back on Israel now because they want to take out terrorists that pose a threat to their country? And Arthur, on my side of things, I got to say, in my opinion, it does not send a good message to allies that we're so flexible and so quickly to be flexible just because there's a little bit of political backlash. There are some legitimate complaints, I will say that. Israel does need to use some caution when they're going into Gaza because they are a little bit reckless, in my opinion, and that needs to be addressed. But the answer is not to cut off military aid. That is the most extreme thing we could have done, and that was one of the first things we did. That was a terrible move, in my opinion, and it sends a message to all of our other allies that we're not as dependable as we used to be. That's the message I think it sends, and it's not good. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to absolutely agree with Matthew on that. It shows a sign of weakness. This isn't necessarily about whether we agree with how the Israelis are going about it. It's more so making sure that we back up Western-aligned countries around the world and creating a strong front against a strong axis of evil. And that's what I'm seeing that we're lacking in right now. This is certainly not a good sign. I don't think that this is something that should be encouraged on the governmental level. It should be condemned, and we should see that the United States government continues to support our allies around the globe, as it is such an instrumental part of being the leader of our sphere, is making sure that smaller nations in our sphere, like Israel, are more than apt to fight against our common enemy, which is Iran, which is operating through Hamas and Hezbollah at the moment. And so with that, I hope that does address that the best I can. And thank you for asking a really good question. That was actually a great one. And I hope that answer... I hope that gave you a bit of our opinion on it. Not answering it really well, but really just more so giving our opinion on the matter. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one is once again, this time a super chat. It's the first ever super chat on our live streams from Gary. Gary, come home. He puts in a 100-pound donation. So heavy that we cannot carry it. 100 pounds is too heavy, but thank you very much, Gary, for that massive support. He says, thanks for all the hard work, and love my flag and my mugs, and keep up the good work.
Hey, and thank you so much for the support, Gary, and thank you for your first super chat ever, and that is huge, and I gotta thank you so much for helping this channel out, because we, lately... you know, support's been a little low, but I never complain, because if people want to support, they can support. If they don't, they don't. But we are greatly appreciative for your support, Gary, because you're really helping us out and helping this channel to keep on running, and we are greatly appreciative of that. I gotta thank you so much once again for helping this channel to keep on running and helping us to make this thing possible. And thank you so much for really loving the flag and loving the mugs, because Matthew and me made sure to put in a lot of work into making those the highest quality we could. The delivery, the production, the actual products themselves, we wanted them to be the best, so that way when y'all got this stuff, y'all were proud not only of the Leaf Spring Army, but what y'all had that would represent the Leaf Spring Army. And I gotta thank you greatly once again for your massive support all the way from the United Kingdom. And I thank you for being up at a very early hour in the morning to be able to watch this stream and enjoy these last minutes of tonight's stream right now. And so thank you so much once again, greatly, for the support. We are massively appreciative of that. And I got to thank you for helping this channel to keep on rolling. And with that, we are back on into the live chats.
And this live chat goes to Anani Mouse, who says, will Ukraine attack inside of Russia using the F-16s when they arrive?
I doubt that they'll attack inside of Russia with the F-16s, because the United States generally doesn't want them to strike inside of Russia with any American weapons. The British have a different rule now. They say that the Ukrainians can strike anything with their weapons, but the United States is still keeping with the rule that we do not want them striking in Russia with our weapons. So I feel like they're probably not going to do that. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, the F-16s aren't American. They're, I believe, Danish and Dutch, but that does not matter, because the Danish and Dutch bought them from us. That means that we get the say on how they're used. And so with that, I hope that does address that well, at least from what I would understand in the future, but I'd highly doubt that we'd ever see F-16 strikes happening inside of Russia. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
And this question goes to Andy L., who says, I read where the U.S. is sending an improved long-range JDAM. What do you say?
I have not heard about a JDAM, a long-range JDAM. I have heard of some JDAMs being provided to Ukraine so far in the war, but I haven't heard of a long-range one. So sadly, right now, I'd actually have to declare ignorance on that, unfortunately, and look into that a little bit more. But I will be trying to get around to it in the future. And so with that, thank you for asking that question. Sadly, I just don't know enough to be able to talk on it all too well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And this one goes to Mac. And he says, do you think the shoe that all the men passed in the parade was a good symbol of all the sleep on the battlefield?
The shoe? What are y'all...
Supposedly somebody lost a shoe in this parade, and it sat there the whole time.
Where?
Oh, where, Jack? Whoa, who? Xi Jinping in the Himalayas. He lost his shoe.
Let's see. Victory Parade boot. So let's see here if I can find it. Oh, dang, they ain't lying. Like, there's just a whole shoe out there. Like, hang on, look. Right there.
Oh, man. You know what that is? That's those high-stepping loafers we saw yesterday. I lost it.
Also, I don't know about y'all, but this year's marching looks sloppy. Like look at this. Like, some of them are hardly in sync. Like, they're almost in sync, but not really. Watch. Like, when they're marching past. These guys.
I don't know. It's all right.
I'll show, you know what? I'll show you another year's. I'll show you 2015's as a comparison, because I've seen how much the Russians get these guys to actually march almost in sync. This is bad compared to normal. So, Victory Day 2015, marching. And let me see if I can get the specific part where they're marching. And so, let's see here. This will do. This will do. We'll just go to the one that we watched the other day, where they march past. Let me see here. One second. I gotta make sure that we get the right one. Here we go. Let me make sure that we can get one where it actually shows their feet, because that's very important. Okay, so here we go. So this is how, like, notice how sloppy this is. Let me show this a second time. Like how there's almost like a wave going on. So this is how they normally marched back in 2015. This is the cadet school, by the way. So these are not even like actual, you know, like actual soldiers. These are just kind of cadets, like the Russian version of the GROTC. So here's how they were marching in 2015. See how it was perfectly synchronized? Like there was no like wave to it or anything going on?
A little bit. You had to see it from the side, really, though, to know.
Here, I'll show you. I
don't know, man. It looks pretty sloppy like the new one, to be honest.
Let me go to this. This will be a top-down view. We'll be able to see it clearly from here. Nah, man, that's way more synchronized than the one that we just saw. Look at that.
Maybe. Oh, yeah, I agree with you on those.
Yeah, because look at that. Watch, look. Every single foot goes forward the same length and lands on the ground at the same time. These guys, on the other hand, here, absolutely not.
It still could be worse, though. I've definitely seen worse.
Oh, yeah, I've seen worse. But this is a huge step down from what the Russians normally do. And you have to remember, this is the premier parade of the year in the entire country. And the marching quality is getting down to this level. And that may be showing, once again, the training is getting significantly decreased due to the deaths of the cadre that happened early on in the war in 2022 and early 2023, where pretty much all Russian instructors got killed in Ukraine. Remember that?
Yes.
The entire training brigade got killed near Kharkiv, and everyone was like, oh, they were like, what's going to happen now? And apparently this is what's starting to happen. But with that, I hope that does address that well, because I noticed that when we looked at that clip. But there was a shoe out there, like just a straight-up shoe. And so I hope that does address that well, at least in my opinion. And with that, we're about to be moving on to the next one, but I just saw someone say that Scott Ritter is an officer and gentleman, and I have...
A gentleman?
Yes, a blank offender gentleman. I've heard that many times before, because those are, of course, some of the most upstanding members of society, as we all know. But with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and believe it or not, Enforcer, we have run through over 16 or 17 live chat questions.
Cap.
No cap. Not capping. No capping. We've run through a lot tonight, and we've actually gotten to all of them because we have one left in the spreadsheet from Urban X. So would you like to do the thing?
And so we are on to the final question of the night. And so who is the lucky last person who put in the lucky last question of the night?
And this one is from Urban X, who says, I seen today where the missiles sold to Putin by North Korea were duds. Ballistic missiles, I think. And have you seen it posted?
I haven't seen it posted. From what we know, most of the North Korean missiles do work if they actually launch successfully. But some of them we have heard have had just straight up failures to launch. They haven't. The motors don't even work. But I don't think that those are deliberate. Well, actually, no. Actually, now that I'm thinking of that, yes, the North Koreans actually have sent duds. I was going to call them faulty, but that's technically a dud. So yes, I have heard about that, and I have seen that, and that is entirely true. A large amount of North Korean munitions are duds that are being sold to the Russians, and we've seen this really in every single category: missiles, artillery, propellants, everything that you can imagine. A lot of it has ended up being duds, and so with that, I hope that does address that well. Good question, Urban X. And with that, we have reached the end of tonight's stream at literally the top of the hour. I've got to thank you all so much once again for watching. It has been an absolute pleasure running the stream tonight. At the peak, there were around 8.7 thousand people here, and 57,000 people have watched this stream since it began. We were entirely honored once again to be able to cover this news with each and every one of y'all and get to share the events of the war as they unfolded over the past 24 hours. If you are new to this channel and you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe, make sure to hit that like button, and make sure to comment, because it makes us greatly appreciative. It makes us really happy to see it. We love to see it, me personally. And so with that, good night, good luck, take care, stay safe, Slava Ukraini, and long live the Lee Spring Army, and I will see you all tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern Time to cover the next 24 hours of the news of the war in Ukraine. Good night, and the Lee Spring Army will never die.
And good night, folks. And like we always say, thank you for another great stream tonight. We'll see you all tomorrow on the Short War Summary and the Nightly War News stream once again. And with that, Slava Ukraine, Herom Slava, and it's time for that famed midnight snack, the Enforcer midnight snack. I gotta go get one. I'm telling you what, gotta have those nice snacks. But with that, good night, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Yes. The Lee Spring Army sends its regards.
Русский военный корабль. Предлагаю сложить оружие и сдаться. Русский военный корабль, иди нахуй.